Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday. Holy smokes, it's Tuesday, March the 5th, 2024. Welcome to the Giant Bombcast, episode 830. I'm your host, Jan Ochoa. Joining me, co-captain of the ship. He is the ultimate hype man, more so than Javier Bardem in any type of movie, Jeff Grubb.
I had a bad dream this weekend.
Fantastic. Master of the bad dream, king of nightmares, Jeff Bakalar.
That is true. What a perfect description of my presence and aura. Thank you for having me, Jan Ochoa.
I'd love to have you, just like I love having our special guest, Russ Frushtick. Welcome to the podcast.
I just kissed, but I realized not everyone is watching videos, so maybe they might have missed it.
They're missing out.
You orally heard the kiss, and that's all that matters.
If you're normally an audio listener to the podcast, I behoove you to just watch the first couple minutes of the Bombcast, at least to feel the presence of that gentle kiss that Russ blew us.
Yeah. You could build a whole career off those little pecks on the cheek, let me tell you. Okay?
What about like a nice kiss on the forehead? How do you do I just gotta go up to my camera a bit and then smooch?
When you kiss, kissing someone on the forehead is more like a parental to a child thing. I don't believe you can really get away in the sort of social constructs that we've created.
I did accidentally kiss a colleague on the forehead once because I was very tired at a show, and we were doing the side hug to say goodbye, and I just reflexively went in for a forehead kiss without controlling my body.
No,
it wasn't good. I'm still deeply, deeply ashamed of it to this day. So yeah, and they never said anything. They were fine.
I mean, not to you. I mean, I'm sure their shrink heard about
to their
it.
therapist. Yes, absolutely.
What do you do there? You think they just repressed it instantly? No, that the receiving end of the forehead kiss. I feel like if that happened to me, where someone, an acquaintance, whatever, kissed me on I would just instantly do my best to forget it. I would just Men in Black.
I hope so.
Forget it. I don't know.
Yeah. I would hope it was that was clearly the most platonic forehead kiss I've ever received. I hope it came across that way.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that this pains you to think about, Jeff Grubb.
Yeah, deeply.
Was there an audible smooch sound afterwards?
Ooh, yeah,
No, I think it was a pressing of the lips on forehead, where hair meets skin. And there was no smacking
You
of
didn't
lips.
say moi at the end of it?
I hope I did not say moi.
No MWAH. I love that.
No, not a visible comic book moi symbol coming out of my face. No.
I'm finding a lot of the kisses on the cheek that I've been giving lately are just cheek touches with the sound of a kiss.
Yeah, that's
a
common.
thing.
Yeah.
I definitely offended people in Iceland when I did not understand how to do that. It was there for an
you're
event.
Always offending Icelandic folks.
I'm offending. Yeah, it was a bunch of Europeans, and they were just you're not going to do the cheek kiss thing. I'm I'm from Ohio. I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can trade sausage if you would like, but that's the only thing I know how to do. For my
we can chest bump. I'll chest bump the hell out of you.
Let's slam the shit out of our elbows together.
Yeah, exactly.
I love a good forearm, with someone.
Right?
Makes
Yeah,
me
just
feel
get in
I'm
there.
a home run hitter.
Sure. If I could be so selfish to front load this podcast with something that's happening to me that I just have to turn into content. I haven't really talked that much about it. I think you all know about this. I know Frushtick doesn't know about it just yet.
Well, the colonoscopy?
No. I'm still a couple years away from
Bought that
shit.
camera already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, none of that. This is way worse. Folks, next week wow, I gotta say it. I just have to come out and say it. I just have to say it. I just say it in one thing. I gotta pull the Band-Aid right off. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath. Guys, next week my parents are moving in with me.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, buddy.
Oh,
friend.
Let me see. That's right.
Okay, let's all take a collective sigh for you.
My Everybody Loves Raymond arc has begun.
Now, you did say moving in with you. You did not say they are staying with you.
Well, Well, I mean,
That's
what's
what
the
I read.
fucking difference, Jeffrey?
I read it
What-
as them staying with you.
Yeah,
but like, there's a difference, right? Staying was like, oh yeah, we're staying with you. Yeah, it could be a month that we're here. Moving in implies
That's a permanence.
there's some permanence there.
Okay,
yes.
so let me, for the sake of everybody, let me walk that back a couple steps. They are not. This is a temporary situation.
How temporary though? Like I think
Well-
if it is upwards of, let's say if it is more than 3 months, I think that is moving in with you.
Oh, fucking Christ, it could be that long. Listen, anyone who's a realtor, anybody who is even remotely or tangentially related to the housing market, you have to reach out and pull all the favors you can pull. Listen,
They will if you actually put that call out, they will get calls nonstop. I'm gonna look at I want to see how much a Kia Carnival minivan costs, and I like put my name into something, and I've been getting calls nonstop for the last 2 weeks. Like people that are selling cars and houses are bananas right now. So if you put that out there, they will get harassed by realtors, which maybe is what you want.
Well, yeah. Again, they're looking. Here's the thing: they have sold my childhood home. It was not there, and they're just like in limbo now. And
Did they know that once they sold the home, the only option would be to move in with you?
I love that you're like proposing a situation where they were like, wait a minute.
We got the check, now what?
We've done sold this place and we're out on the street. What are we going to do?
We did not think this through.
Look, they had asked me like many months ago, and we talked about it. And look, I'm their son. Like I gotta like do the right thing
And
here.
you also, I assume they're going to be staying in that nice guest spot that you got going on there, right?
Yeah, like
That's
the
a nice-
house can,
nice
the house
place. They
can
got their own
handle them.
bathroom.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. You get
yeah.
that whole room over there.
Totally. Like they will be okay. It'll be fine. I don't know how long it's gonna be for. And everyone's like, oh well, there's a lot of advantages to having that. And you seem very charitable with your assessment of the situation. Let me just say.
There's a lot of positives if you ignore everything that is happening.
It's great if you just sleep the whole time. Like
I mean,
you
if-
have a sibling, right? You have a brother?
I have a brother who lives about 20 minutes away.
And was there a drawing straws situation?
Yeah. Or was that never a question?
I think like in terms of the comfort and the space, it was not really a question.
So I
think
want to make it
was-
clear. I have lived my life in such a way that there is no question that my parents will not be moving in with
Yeah,
me.
ditto. Yeah, there's no scenario. Where
There's
that
no
would ever
scenario.
make
Like
sense.
I have three brothers and a sister, and I basically like shuffled myself to the back of that and been like, look
Good
at
for
all
you.
these great options over there. So yeah,
I am
that's-
recording this in a closet. You can literally see that I'm recording this in a closet. So if there's any indication that there's no extra space, this is it.
I
I
just
to
want
do
to
this pod from a kitchen, and
It's
I
true.
don't want to go back to the kitchen.
look. I just want everyone to know it's entirely possible that during a dump truck, a man in his underwear could show up in my
Hell
background.
yeah.
I
Never
just
mind.
want
This
that
is great.
I just want that to be
I mean,
out
that's a
there.
promised segment is what that is.
Yeah.
He is a retired man who thinks he's hilarious, and I just
I mean, it's
He's-
worked for Dan, so
Yeah.
God damn it. It'll be interesting.
Let's
And I just
introduce the Daddyverse arc.
Yeah.
Giant bomb.
I just need to put
Daddy
this out
dump
there
trucks
because
for real.
it's how I deal with it, right? Like you guys understand, like I'm doing this so that like in some weird way, I'm not shouldering the brunt of this weight, if that makes sense. Like
We're
need
not
to,
going to
like-
help you at all with this, but good luck, man.
I
Yeah.
need emotional support.
certainly
That's
not. My
came
first
to the
trip
wrong
would be
place.
to the bank to take out a mortgage to prevent this from happening. That
mean,
would be
like,
my number one priority.
It's not for a lack of like they want to find a place. Believe,
No, I know.
Believe
What are they
me.
looking for? Are they looking for like a smaller house,
Yeah,
or are they looking for a
yeah.
condominium? Like what?
Yeah, they want to they want to go. They want to stay like in the town they're in Central
Sure.
Jersey, and they want to just be around there, and they want to move to like a 55 and up kind of joint.
I did
Okay.
actually hear there's an opening right next to you, Jeff.
Oh,
so-
did you?
Yeah, that might be more convenient.
Oh,
I
cool.
think just from a proximity standpoint.
Oh, what a cool, neat idea! I'll throw that into the hat.
Now, Jeff, what if they like living with you too much?
Yeah, what if you're too cool? The
Jan,
cool
you
son.
you shut your fucking mouth.
Okay, noted. All right.
Can you put fart smell in the vents to ensure this
Ooh.
doesn't go long?
Dude, I'm gonna have to try real harder than that.
Yeah.
See, that it would almost certainly bother you more than them, because old people can't smell anymore, right? That's the
They
big thing
don't.
with old people.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's going to be like weeks of me explaining how my TV works.
Oh, yeah,
and it's
forget
going to
about it.
be like, hey, can you just like look, maybe we get some babysitting out of it. That's what I'm cautiously optimistic about.
That's the
you
problem.
know?
Is your kid is too old at this point for it to really pay off.
Yeah.
It's like you can leave that. You can leave him, right? You can leave.
Oh,
eight.
dude, who are you, Dan Reichert? No, you can't leave someone who's under 10 alone by themselves for like the night.
Yeah, not for the night. That's true.
Yeah, or at least like come home late at like 2 a.m. and just hope they put themselves to bed. Like, no.
How old was Kevin? He was fine.
Yeah,
Right.
they did that
he was
totally
9,
on
right?
purpose.
He was 9.
And they did that totally on purpose too.
It worked out. No harm,
It
no
did
foul.
work out. He did put people in jail.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't know if it
know.
worked out in the long run for Kevin. You know,
Maybe not.
thinking about it.
Maybe his brother, but not him. No, I'm
No, it
kidding.
didn't work out for his brother at all. If you were up to date on
No.
the Home Alone universe, he stays a cop in that same town.
Oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah, big cop energy. That haircut alone.
Yeah, I mean,
Buzz.
the name's literally Buzz. Yeah. So anyway, that's my current arc. Thoughts and prayers and all that.
I'm going to switch gears real quick. I just got a question for Jan. Jan, we got PAX coming up real soon. What's your plan for? Listen, Beckler, I'm not leaving you out for any particular reason. Jan, what's your plan for getting a haircut?
Oh, you fucker.
Are we talking about like a gimmicked haircut at the
No,
show?
no, just like straight up normal dude
Okay.
life haircut. Like, 'cause I'm like, the last couple times we had a live show, I got a haircut right before, and I didn't always love it. A couple times I did, and I haven't. This is like new to me. I had not cut my hair for 10 years before like this recent spat of haircuts. So I'm like, right now I feel like I kind of got a Orson Welles and Citizen Kane thing happening a little bit.
I like it. Just
Yeah,
look
it's
at the
like I
sides.
didn't choose that, and I didn't try to do it. It just is happening today. And even if I'm like, oh, I kind of like it, there's no guarantee it'll do it tomorrow. So I'm like, I should maybe just go get a haircut so I can guarantee a certain look. But also, I don't really know if I want to get a haircut. Right
I'm
now.
gonna channel in Barber Jan here. I'm gonna attune myself with him and just think about Pokemon cards and our 2 corgis, and then Grub. I'm gonna say, just trim up the sides and the back. Don't do clippers. Just have him do scissors. Because then
Okay.
you'll get the look of like, oh,
I've been
did
having
he
him do
get
clippers.
a trim recently, or
Okay.
is his hair coming in fine post haircut?
Okay, that's a good. You know what? I'll do it at the airport again. To get another airport haircut. There's nothing funny about that. It's a normal thing to do.
No, I think the airport
Do they
haircut.
really do that? Was that a real person?
Is it
Grub?
duty free if you get it at the airport?
I mean, I paid no duty as far as I'm aware. It was real. I mean, listen, are you suggesting that it was just a random man sitting at the airport?
Yes.
It's a whole thing. They had a chair and a mirror. What else do you need?
It's easy to get a chair through TSA. You'd be surprised.
You could also just sit at one of those shoe shine things and no one's going to ask any questions. So there's
Right,
a lot
maybe
you
that's
can take
actually what I was
advantage
at.
of.
It works out because it's like I like to get the airport early, and then I'm like, well, why the hell did I get here early? Now I can get a haircut. So if I'm feeling it in the moment, I'll do exactly what you said, Jan. I think my problem has been the clippers. So good plan.
Okay. Audio listeners, I took my hat off and then my hair kind of just suddenly bounced. I'd like to remind everyone that I shaved my. When was PAX West? Or,
It would have been September, yeah.
okay, my hair is fully grown back at this point.
Yeah, really has.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. Shouts out to jeans. But I don't know what to do because, like, I could go back to the slick back pomp that I've been doing. People have said try a mullet, and then when I looked at my partner and said mullet, she instantly shot that down. and then
No.
hated the idea.
Now, okay,
Jan, I like it for you, man.
Jan, I think if you showed up at home one day with a mullet, she would be mad for about 30 minutes, and then I think you'd be fine because you look good when the Tam cut it into a mullet in the shower at a
Yeah.
hotel room, which is a normal thing that people do. That looked good on you. I think you can pull it off. I will say that I have been, for the first time in my life, considering a mullet.
It's back.
It is
Also,
back.
not only that, Jan, a mullet is like fixable. Like it's not like you can do a mullet and then you're stuck like that. Like you can absolutely adjust the mullet, get rid of the mullet, and make it something totally different. Please.
I mean, straight up,
consider it.
as you just had it a second ago, looks basically like a Final Fantasy protagonist, and that's kind of working for me too.
God.
Yeah.
There was a moment in my life when my dentist did my hair once, and then and she did it in such a way where I became anime.
No clarification needed on the dentist haircut.
What the fuck, Russ Frushtick?
Russ Frushtick just had balloons pop
I
out of his
literally
camera
didn't
for
touch
some
anything.
reason.
I have no
What are
idea
you
what
talking
happened.
about, Russ? You did that.
Oh, and there he's gone. And there he's gone.
There was 15 balloons around you. What is going on?
I don't know what's happening. Russ Frushtick, welcome to the podcast. What do you got going on before we get going with the rest of the pod? Let's chat.
Man.
What's happening?
Well, for people that don't know, I work at a lovely website called Polygon.com, which is great, and we have fun there. We talk about video games and entertainment, as I'm sure you guys do quite a bit. I also have a podcast that I do with some lovely friends. Justin, there's the fucking balloons again.
What? Okay. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. That was the last time.
Let the balloons fly. You know.
I also have a lovely podcast called The Besties that I do with Justin McElroy, Griffin McElroy, Chris Plant, and myself. And we've been doing it almost as long as the Giant Bombcast. Not quite, but very, very close.
Very long.
There's no way that's true.
It is. Yes, it really is true.
I think we're at 11 years now, right around 11 years.
Oh my God! Actually, I would not have guessed that. That's phenomenal.
Well, it's because it's had you guys have had 5 different arcs. You've had 5 different backal arcs.
Yeah, we started as weekly, and then we went to once a month, and then we were just doing a Game of the Year episode, and then we came back as weekly as part of a Spotify arc, and then we went available to everyone, and now we're
Spotify money. Hell yeah.
We are weekly, and we do bonus episodes on Patreon as well. So that's kind of the run of the show at the moment.
I love it.
We have fun.
I like your podcast. It's very good. I can't believe they still let people talk about video games on the internet. Glad you guys are getting away with it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely.
I did just get a photo. It was the first time I've ever had this happen. I'm sure it's happened to you guys quite a bit, where something that I'm directly associated with was tattooed on someone.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Great.
Was it New York Giraffe?
It was New York Giraffe.
Hell yeah. if anything was going to get a tattoo from the besties.
I'm telling you. So I was really proud to see that for my good buddy, my good local buddy, getting represented.
Right, your buddy from the hood. Yeah,
that's right. But no, it warmed my heart, and love the Besties fans out there, including Jeffrey Grubb.
People, and if you were wondering what New York Draft is, go listen to the show. Plenty of history
listen
there.
to go back 6 years, and you might find a random episode that references this one thing.
We'll love to have you, Russ. Love the besties. Love
you.
Hearing your lovely voice, and I feel just in such a good mood after you opening the pod with that little smooch. I feel great.
Does feel nice.
Well, there was again, audio listeners. You're missing out.
Give me your foreheads, listeners. Come on, bring them in.
No. Jeff,
bring them in.
No. We're still social distancing with the forehead kisses.
It's just with me.
I don't know why I now have a mental image of that person you giving a forehead kiss being Mike Minotti.
It's not. I'll tell you who it was. They were again. They never said anything. I think that they're completely fine with it, but I'll tell you guys afterwards. I don't want to blow up their spot.
Video games.
Oh man, video games, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It was Tommy Tellerico, wasn't it?
You kissed him on the forehead?
Listen, I mean, he's got a nice little.
He's got all those Guinness World Records. He deserves it.
Yeah, his mom was very proud of that forehead.
Just like I'm very proud of you, Jeff Grubb, for beating Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
I beat that game. I started again over the weekend after putting it down a little bit to do some other things. And I was about 50 hours in. I'm like, I'll probably be able to get through this by like 55. I beat it at 67 hours. And that was the ending just keeps going. There's 2 different endings because by the end of the game you're playing these 2 different there's 2 different crews. I really like it. The ending is very good in terms of giving these characters a great they set it up with a bunch of different characters, interact with one another with great stakes, and then a lot of that stuff gets put to the side for a very long time. A lot of it does get brought up in the middle, but a lot of it gets put to the side. And yet by the end, even though you've been playing for 65 hours and they're wrapping back around to this, you're like, I never forgot about these things. I'm glad they're paying it off. And that stuff really worked for me. The Kiryu stuff was, even as someone who's not played a lot of these games, has only dabbled up to this point, and really that's might even be overstating it. I haven't really played a lot of Yakuza and Like a Dragon games, and so to kind of come in here and like understand the importance of Kiryu from a distance, I actually felt like I got a lot out of this ending and seeing like why people like this character so much. And they do treat him as important. And there's characters just sitting around watching him do his thing and just being like, he's incredible. And I'm like, yeah, he is. But it is about Kasuga for me. Kasuga is, I mean, I think it's like 1 and 2 Jesus Christ and Kasuga Ichiban. Like, seriously, he is like the nicest character ever created. And that is his superpower. And they never forget it. And they always put it front and center. And he knows it kind of, but he's very restrained about it. It's not, he's not in your face nice. He's just always going to do the nice thing, and he always turns every enemy into a friend because he can't even imagine that you would be his enemy. And it's so nice to have a character like that and spend time with a character like that. And I know that's probably pretty common for people who enjoy like shonen animes and stuff. I've only watched a handful of those. My understanding is that stuff's pretty common in that kind of storytelling. For me, having a character like that, it was refreshing coming from so many things that are so cynical. So I really responded to that. I will say I was pretty frustrated with the final boss fight because I was spending a lot of time with one of the crews, with the Kasuga crew, and I was leveling them up. I was going through, I was grinding. There's several points in this game where you're gonna have to grind to level up, even if I think you've spent some extra money to get the level up packs, which you can. And I had one of those because it was included in the review code I got. Even if you use that, you're still gonna have to spend some time grinding at multiple points throughout the game. And I was good. I'm like, no, I'm definitely over leveled even for the final boss. So I beat this final boss, and it's like, well, no, we got to swap over to the other crew and beat the other final boss. And I was just under leveled for that. And you go through this series of fights and this tower you have to climb, and you get up there, and it's like there was no easy way to leave and go grind, at least as far as I could tell. Like I couldn't, as far as I could tell, could not quick travel to somewhere else to go grind and then come back. So I ended up using a couple more packs to level up the character after struggling for about 2.5 hours on this final boss fight. Wow. So that's sullied things a little bit for me.
Sure.
But other than that, even when I was grinding, I was mostly enjoying that because the combat is so good. It's I really like all the synergies. They start off with, these characters doing cool things in a good turn-based system, and then they just keep adding layers on top of that, where now that you're better friends, this character is going to come over and help you by when you knock someone down, they're going to come and hit them while they're down. And then later, it's like, oh, now you're even better friends. So if you stand next to them before you initiate the attack, they will run in with you together and attack at the same time. And then the other character that you're good friends with, once that character's down, the enemy's down, then they'll come in and they'll do an attack. And then sometimes another character will come in on top of that. So it's like it keeps layering on top of one another. So more cool stuff happens, and you're doing much more damage as long as you're using these synergies really well. And so I liked grinding for the most part up until that very last boss fight, where it felt like there was no easy way to go do that so that I could effectively accomplish that. But that said, I'm as someone who is not, like gaga for most JRPGs, I was pretty happy with this experience. I like it a lot. I'm glad I saw it through.
I was going to ask you, Grub, this isn't normally a Grub style game, I believe. But do you think was the game respectful of your time, given that you spent like 60 hours in, other than like the last boss grinding you were talking about?
It walks the line a little bit. I think it's gonna your mileage is gonna vary depending on what you're wanting from the game at any particular time. I think that it must have been mostly respectful, or else I would have given up on it. Part of that's going to be sunk cost. I got to about 50 hours, like that 45, 50 hours before I felt any sort of like, oh, am I like done with this game? And then by that point I could see the end, and I'm like, I should just see it through. But when I was seeing it through, I was still enjoying myself. I think that for some people, that grinding is going to be unacceptable, just flat out. For some people, that's just like, no, I'm never going to enjoy that. I want to feel like I have done most of what the main story is asked of me, I should be appropriately leveled to see this game through, and I think that's fair. I think that should be the expectation of most role-playing games. I get the suspicion. My suspicion here is that the reason it does work this way in this game is because they do want you to buy those level packs so that you can level up the characters and you spend a couple $10 extra. And so that's not great. I think that's a kind of a thing that like really does poison the game a little bit. Now it didn't ruin the experience for me. But when I see that sort of thing and I start thinking like, are they manipulating me to get more money out of me? That is just not something I want to be thinking about for most games. So I think on that side of things, clearly a negative. I would warn people against that. But hey, go play on PC. Use Cheat Engine. Get around it. Like this, you bought the game, you own it. Do what you want with it.
Another great Steam Deck game. Yeah.
Oh yes, I played the entirety on Steam Deck, and it was
really
great. Yes.
Yeah, it runs really well on Steam Deck.
Yeah, you have to like adjust a little bit of the visuals. I was using the FSR2, which is like DLSS, so the image is a little soft every once in a while. I did not care; it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I would certainly echo, as someone who has also dabbled in the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series, I would echo that this is the first time that I've felt personally attached to one of the games in a big way. I think Ichiban is why that is.
Yeah.
I think Kiryu, in the other games that I've played where Kiryu is like the main character, he's so straight and such like a traditional like hero. And they obviously use the side characters as like a way to make things fun and silly and goofy around him. But because you have Ichiban kind of doing both roles, there's never really a moment where you're playing as him where you aren't getting some aspect of levity or warmth. Whereas like Kiryu, you kind of have to work for it. So that was like, I'm still very early in the new Like a Dragon, but that's what grabbed me immediately. It was like, oh, I want to hang out with this dude for as long as possible.
Same.
He rides the line of like being not too much of a dumbass where he's unbearable.
Right. He definitely has his moments where he is a complete and utter dumbass, but they pick and choose those and they deploy them usually for comedic effect, occasionally for the romance story. And that, that has a pretty satisfying ending there that also does not let him off the hook for being a dumbass. That stuff is great too. I love dumbass characters. That stuff is my catnip, where I'm like, oh man, I relate to these guys making boneheaded decisions and stuff like that, and everyone around them kind of giving them slack and stuff. I appreciate that, and so yeah, and Ichiban Kasuga is just 100% that through and through. People are mentioning the optional dungeons, and that is how I had one crew over leveled when I was like, oh, you have to be a certain level to get through. Like you go to a mission, and sometimes it'll warn you want to be this level, and you want to have this amount of armor. Or weapons and gear. And I just Googled it. Like, what's the easiest way to level up and get money? And everyone's like, do these optional dungeons, which are just procedurally generated dungeon crawl things. You go through them, you rescue some people, you fight a bunch of bosses, or you fight a bunch of enemy crews and then bosses. And it's, it does feel still like filler. I know people are like, yes, you could do that instead of paying for it. So obviously they do give you an option to avoid pain. They don't throw that in your face though. They don't make there is a part of the game where you have to do one of those, but they don't like say, hey, you should definitely be doing that if you want to avoid this stuff. And when I did get to that lost boss fight, I could not just easily zap over there, do that stuff to avoid a situation where it's like, I think I might have to load an earlier save if I want to do that. And that was just not going to happen.
Lovely. Sticking on the JRPG train, Jeff Grubb, it says you've also been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yep.
This is one of those games that I think is absolutely going to devastate me.
Yeah,
I feel like
started
a broken
Don't be
person.
so dramatic. What are you talking about?
Because Jeff, there's too much in this game.
There's a lot in the game.
This is one of those games where it quickly, for me at least, becomes very overwhelming with how much there is in here. And it's like a Dune 2, where it's like, there wasn't a lot for you to fudge around and stretch out, but you're stretching everything out, huh? We're just gonna make this Far Cry for a little bit, huh?
I felt overwhelmed in the 4 hours that I played on UPF on Friday. It was, and that was not like only just barely getting to some of the side things that people are talking about. I did do Queen's Blood. I did one Chocobo race. I did things here and there, but even like the combat was like, oh, this is clearly very cool. But I'm like trying to like progress things and keep things going for the viewers. And so I'm like, not taking my time to fully understand the nuances of the combat. And so I would get to the next thing. It's like, well, here's something new. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I got to manage that and this. So I felt overwhelmed coming out of that. And yet it's like, it's all very well made, and I was enjoying myself, and it feels like a very confident game at the very least. So, Jim, where are you at, and how are you feeling about it?
So I've still tried to mainline everything and skip all of the side quests, which I know will anger a lot of people because some of the fun, goofy stuff lives in those side quests.
My understanding is like there's parts of the game that is going to force you to engage with a lot of these side quests, right?
Yeah, definitely. But there's moments where I'll be playing this game in the living room, and then my partner will stop working and actually stare at the screen and be like, "Wait, so why are they upset with each other? Wait, what's going on? Who are these two girls? Are you looking at that girl?" I'm like, "Well, like respectfully, of course." Shouts out to Tifa. But I think they've done such a good job at the characterization in this game where it is grabbing my partner's attention, who normally just doesn't quite care when I'm playing a game in her vicinity, unless it's like poker and she's scared for my well-being. But I think even the characterization is so strong where it's pulling her in and she's just listening tangentially off to the side. And I think that is the thing that's like pushing me through and pulling me through with this game. Not that I'm not enjoying my time, but like I'm purposely only going for the mainline quest because I just want to know more about what is going to happen. And to reiterate,
Sean
to folks
played,
at
and he
home,
seemed pretty happy with it. So
yeah, and to reiterate to folks at home, I have no prior experience playing the original Final Fantasy VII, other than knowing through osmosis the big story beats of who Sephiroth is, Aerith, etc. But man, that combat in this game, I'm doing the thing, Grub, where I'm just running to enemies in the open world because I'm just having such a good time in it. And I did a thing where I don't normally do, and I actually bumped up the difficulty because I just want to fight more.
Oh, that's cool.
I got to the big first like open world boss thingy. I don't want to like
snake.
Yeah, the snake. I got to the snake.
Yeah.
It seemed like a skill check, and that's where I'm at. And I haven't gone back because I wanted to beat like a dragon. So now my plan is, okay, I got some more free time. I'm gonna get in there. I don't know. Like tips, should I just go out in the open world and level up, or should I just like, beat my head against it?
Okay, so I this is my pro tip. I'm a little bit further than that. It's
okay.
I think I'm at chapter 6. I won't give spoilers beyond that, but probably like 15 hours into the game. I've been playing on easy, and my attitude is what easy lets you do is basically ignore potions. You'll still take damage. You'll still at times take a lot of damage and like risk going down. But more or less with your like healing spells, stuff like that, you can basically sustain your characters, but you're not constantly juggling all of these different resources, which made me a little overwhelmed.
Sounds pleasant.
As someone that was trying to like just experience the story more or less. The other benefit, it does not force you, at least early on where I am, to do all the side things that like allow you to be a high enough level to fight this guy. Because I'm playing on easy, it's easier so you can like experience more of the content more quickly. I think the game is balanced with the idea that you are doing every one of the side things in that first area, which is like 45 side things based on the number of dots on that map.
Holy smokes.
You could spend 20 hours in that first area and do a lot of that stuff. I do not find 90% of that stuff very compelling as gameplay. Like, I think it's arguably even worse than what Far Cry does, which at least Far Cry, like, I don't know, has a little more meat on the bone. There are some side quests that have like narrative beats, but a lot of that stuff is like, go to this tower and flip a switch and you're done. And that's like, why is that even there? And that's my general attitude about the experience I've had so far. I think narratively, I'm really interested when they do cutscenes. Holy cow, it's amazing. Just like screenshots, world design, like the art design is through the roof gorgeous. But there is a ton of filler that I'm experiencing, and that stuff bums me out a lot because I got shit to do.
Yes,
I've heard this both ways. I've heard people that are doing everything and enjoying it and feel like none of it's filler, and then I've heard a lot of people describe it as padding and filler. And what do you guys think is the difference there for people? I mean, like what you described there of like going to a thing and flipping a switch, no story. Is there even is there whimsy? Like, is there whimsy that you get as part of that side quest?
Not to not to that side quest. There's
Okay.
no like,
Yeah.
there's not even talking. Chadley, I think, might show up briefly if you consider Chadley whimsy.
I do.
Sadly.
I
Yeah.
do.
I think it depends on the person and how much they're like in love with this world. I'm sure there are people that like
Right,
want to
okay,
spend
that
more
probably is it.
time in the Final Fantasy world. I like Final Fantasy VII. I played it originally, and I loved Remake. But Remake, I think, was a much more like targeted strike where there is side stuff, but the only side stuff that's there is narratively driven side stuff. And you beat that game and it's like 30 hours long, 35, which is pretty short for a Final Fantasy game. And this, my understanding, is like double that. And a lot of the reason it's double is because of all this extra side stuff.
I think that's probably not been putting me off the game, but I think exhausting me is what you said, Russ, where in Remake, everything felt more digestible in terms of like, I can take care of all the side quests in this area before I move on to the next. Here, it's like a huge list full of dots across the map and everything where it's like, okay, well, you know, I've got enough chocobos. I never ride the chocobos. It's cool that I see the movement abilities here, but I'm just gonna move along. But some of them, like at least the handful of ones that I have wound up doing, I have enjoyed, and just given like a little bit more background to some of the characters. And I think the trap that I'm falling into, and folks that maybe have beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or are further in than I am, please tell me if I am worrying too much about the social links in this game, because I am quickly falling into the trap of like, well, I'm going to save before I talk to any one of my party members just in case, because I need Red 13 to really, really like me.
Yeah,
I've had that thought as well. Yeah, I've definitely had that concern.
Yeah, Sean sent me over to because I played with Sean and Tam as kind of my guides on Friday, and Sean's like, "Go talk to Tifa real quick," and it was my first thing where it's like there was a timer there, and I was like, I did not notice the timer until it was like right about to expire because it was my first time seeing it. So I'm like looking at all the options, like, oh, how can I get this just right? And so like it picked the thing there where she's like basically like, screw you.
I hate you, Tifa.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, like, go to hell, Tifa. And next thing I know, I'm like going on a date with Aerith instead or something. So, and not that like that's a complaint, but it was just like I felt like, oh, how much is that going to matter later on? I've been told by Sean and Mike, who played a lot of this game, beat this game, that there's definitely like things later where you are building up towards that and your decisions matter. I don't know how much like conscious manipulation of like the results I can like actually enact on my first playthrough, unless I want to be sitting there with a guide, and I don't want to be doing that. So maybe I might have been overthinking it already.
I'm sure the overarching beats will not change, like the big beats will not change because they have to make another game after this and it needs to make sense. But yeah, there's probably like moments later on where it matters a lot.
I just want to go on a date with Barrett to Golden Saucer. That's all I want.
Reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, don't we all? God, I love Barrett so much.
Jan, you are crackly for me. Is he crackly for you guys? Or?
Yeah, all of a
Got a little
sudden.
crackle.
Okay.
Yep, that just came out of nowhere.
Am I still crackly now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
it's in chat's hearing it as well. I don't know. Do you want to? Could you leave and come back? Would that break the
Yeah,
room?
leave and come back.
I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, you sound
Maybe
like a
switch your
robot
audio device
person.
and switch back.
Yeah, one sec. In the meantime, while I'm still a robot, Jeff Grubb, tell me about Star Wars.
Yeah. Here, Sean, edit from here. You know what? While Jan's a robot, I'm gonna talk about Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered. I like Dark Forces a lot. It was a game that I would. I don't think I ever actually beat it at the time, but it was like that didn't matter. It was like, man, this is a cool Doom clone with Star Wars stuff, and those were two things I liked a whole bunch in the 1990s, and I still like it a whole bunch today. Dark Forces is just really cool. I always thought it was cool, and this remaster does everything right to ensure that that experience is intact and feels as friendly as possible. And I was going to say modern. It's still that game from the 90s. It's still a Doom clone. Like, it's not even like, oh, this is in the first-person shooter genre. This is still when it was called Doom clone. And they don't try to change anything about that aspect of it. It's like it's still going to feel that way. But it's got all of the quality of life stuff, and you can like turn off the head bob, and there's some other accessibility options in there. And then they have like, updated FMV sequences where they would have sort of, this is a LucasArts game, I believe. They had similar art style to like what they did with The Dig and some other LucasArts like adventure games. That's how they did the storytelling, and that stuff always looked really cool. They've updated it here, and while I think I prefer the originals still, the way the originals look, the like lo-fi versions where like the Darth Vader's helmet has some like blue tint in it because they only had so many colors. And now in the modern version, it is, it looks like, no, it's just a black helmet. It looks like Darth Vader. They still mostly keep it intact. And it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would, the new art, the new updated art. But beyond that, it's just a fun game that's still, like, if you've never played it, if you have any affinity for those Doom games, that era of Doom, and you like Star Wars, this game still is a good time, and I recommend it. It runs great on the Switch. I've been mostly playing it on Steam Deck, and it's great there, of course. Works on PC and all that stuff. But it's great, a great controller game. I think they originally released it for PlayStation even, so it's always kind of worked that way, and it still does today. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
There is a really good Digital Foundry video about that game in particular.
There is.
Talking about like what the original was capable of doing that Doom couldn't. One of the things
that's
Doom couldn't do rooms on top of each other. You couldn't have a room on a room in Doom because of the way the tech worked. So there's some really interesting even though it was considered like a Doom clone, it was built in a different engine that allowed them to do a lot of very different things. They also showed that PlayStation version, which is pretty dog shit, but it was impressive that they pulled it off, I guess.
So you couldn't have like a second floor?
Yeah, you couldn't have like an elevator that led up to a floor that was like on top of the floor.
Right, if you remember Doom, the elevators, you would go into an elevator and then it would you would walk forward. You couldn't go back into a room like overlapping one another. And this definitely has that. Like in the first level, like there's like elevators will take you up to a room and you'll look down at enemies down on the first floor and shoot them and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were just showing off at that point.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that Digital Foundry video is very good. Though. I
they're shit rules.
Yeah, even if you're not into this game, that's worth watching.
Grub, is this a dash run?
Oh, no, that's terrible. That's terrible, Jan. Whatever that was terrible.
It's still bad.
It's still bad. This is not a Dash Rendar one. This is Kyle Katarn, which he would go on to be in the Star Wars Dark Forces.
What did you say? What did you just say? What?
Kyle Katarn?
These are Star Wars people?
These are Star Wars people.
The Jedi outcasts?
Yeah.
No.
Mike, you want to write it in chat? So yes, he always makes me do this. Like, okay, Star Wars Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, and then Star Wars Dark Forces 3, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
What?
And then
what
Star
about
Wars
Jedi
Dark
Academy?
Forces.
That's a different guy.
Yeah, Star Wars Dark Forces 4, Jedi Knight 3, Jedi Outcast 2, Jedi Academy. Yeah. So, yeah, it's that series, and it's different than the Dash Rendar game, which was Shadow of the Empire for the N64.
Wampa Stompa.
Yeah, Wampa Stompa. That's right. It's a good code call back there.
This is the same developer that did the System Shock remake, right?
Oh yeah, Night Dive Studios. Yes, Night Dive Studios. They do a ton of these. They did what was that game that Mike made a big deal about in Game of the Year last year?
Oh yeah, what a weirdo.
Power Slave.
Yeah,
it's a great game. That's a great game.
Right. Yeah.
They did like the Turok remasters recently that are very good. So yeah, they've got a lot of that stuff figured out. And every time they do one of these, they really do give it a lot of love. And I think Night Dive is one that was recently, they weren't acquired by Embracer. I think they were acquired by Atari, actually. And Atari's we're going to do more stuff like this that Night Dive does. So hopefully they're able to do that and Atari doesn't beef it.
Right on.
Jan, do you want to check?
I'm going to talk now.
There you go, bud.
You did it.
Okay,
you did it.
Cool. I overcame my robot sickness.
What do you think it was? How'd the ghost in the machine get there? What do you think?
The internet has been garbo at my apartment lately.
Okay.
It's like, hey, yeah, we know you work from home, and we know that you signed up for the good internet just because of that specific reason. What if it just stopped working occasionally? Huh?
That is pretty much every ISP's slogan now. Like, we know you work from home and we hate you.
Yeah, and we know you have no other option.
Yeah.
You're gonna go get what, DSP? Good luck with that.
DSL, you mean?
DSL, excuse me.
Jeez, I don't want to know what DSP is. Fuck.
It's actually I think it's a bad YouTuber.
Just like
I
us.
thought we were the
just like us. I do have a question about Star Wars games. There's in my Discord community a beef against me for dismissing Star Wars Battlefront, the early games, because I was just like, yeah, no, those were Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2. They're good games, but they were like 8s. They were fine for the time, and then everyone moved on. But like the children are like, no, those are the best Star Wars games, bar none. Nothing comes close. And I was like, how do you all remember it? Do you guys remember it as being like the most important Star Wars games, or do you remember it just being like, oh, those were good games?
I think it's just a generational thing.
I think it
my
is, too.
attitude is it's just just they were good games, they were fine games, but not like life-changing. Like I like Shadows of the Empire way more than those games, even though I acknowledge that as a game it's not better. It's
Same.
probably worse, but I have that like affinity. It was like the first, second N64 game I ever played.
Although, hey, if they did a AAA remake of that game, Shadow of the Empire, that would hit real nice. Yes.
Conceptually, it's great. I mean, the things you do, not super fun, but
No.
but on paper, it sounds fucking awesome. You steal the jetpack from Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Great.
you ride on a speeder bike through Mos Eisley,
That's right.
or Mos Espa,
Slaughter
whatever.
some Jawas for no reason.
Because it's
You
Star
guys are
Wars.
such nerds. I only played Rogue Squadron on GameCube.
Oh, that was good.
And I was like,
that's
yo,
one they
this
gotta bring
is
back.
honestly, that game made me give a shit for a little bit about Star Wars. Like I was like, this feels important. I'm doing the
You're a big Wedge Antilles mark, is what you are. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I want on my
wonder.
tombstone. And I don't know, like I just fell in love with that shit for a really long time. But Rogue Squadron like defined my GameCube experience in the beginning there for sure.
I was going to say
Gorgeous
it's
game.
not
The
a
trench
turnover.
run is infamous, and really they push the boundaries. I don't think those games necessarily can hold up today. Maybe they can.
Maybe. There's no way to know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I remember you could play as a car, which was pretty cool. You could fly around as a car.
Yeah.
I liked Rogue Squadron for the N64 because if you put in a code, Factor 5, the developer, had such mastery of the N64 that they had space left over on the cartridge to do a full voiceover director's commentary for every level.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was wild. I'm like,
That's one of the first times I've ever seen that in a game. I mean, obviously Valve does them a lot, but not very common.
Yep, and it was like, especially on a cartridge game for the N64 back then, it's like, yeah, that was wild.
You're just showing off.
They always were, yeah. And then they went on to develop the Hulu app for Nintendo Switch. Well, the people, not Factor 5 themselves.
I was going to say, I think it may be a generational thing because I remember those two first Battlefront games very, very fondly. And then
Yeah.
I was a very big Mercenaries head because I was a child when that came out.
Sure.
Got it.
Thinking,
Yeah, that
I
makes
thought that
sense.
game was sick as hell. I remember like a bunch of friends and I just coming over and just dusting out the good old multi-tap and then just having a ball of a time with those Star Wars Battlefront games.
Well,
Is Mercenaries the same developer?
it's Pandemic, right? Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I love Mercenaries games. Were great. I love
Yep.
those.
God.
That
on,
Battlefront
Jason.
collection coming out here pretty soon, a couple weeks. So I'm gonna go back and I keep telling everybody that yells at me about this, I will give it a fair shot. Let's see
And
for
that's
ourselves.
just like an HD re-release, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think it. You can hope for the best. I read a headline. I didn't even look into it. It's like, oh, it's missing some key feature or something like that. But I think it's still
Darth
supposed to.
Vader.
Yeah, right. They
Couldn't
couldn't
get
get the
the
rights to Darth
couldn't
Vader
get
for
the
some
rights.
reason. He got it. It's like he's got his own representation, and
Yeah.
so they couldn't get him.
It's like
It's just
Michael
Rick
Jordan.
Moranis.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Yes.
put Lord Helmet in there instead.
Arch Manning. You can't. Yeah.
Well, speaking about old games, I, for some reason, decided to check out a very hot game, super duper hot. I checked out StarCraft 2.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what is
Jan?
happening? You're like the youngest person I know. What are you doing?
So my experience with StarCraft 2 is watching Brad Shoemaker and Norman Chan play that a lot on this website. And I never had the means because I didn't have a PC back in the day. And someone in the Giant Bomb Discord linked me a video of, I guess, like the StarCraft championships or a championship game that had happened. And I was like, wow, that looks great. And I've also been playing Unicorn Overlord, which is very RTS light. That's a very fat demo, folks. If you are looking for something to play to bide your time, download that demo because that is like, I've seen people spend like 6-8 hours in that shit. Shouts out to Generous Demos. 2 podcast points for you. But the StarCraft 2, I don't know if y'all have kept up to date with it at all. It's free to play now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which
I
is
guess I didn't
insane.
realize that either.
Even the campaign?
The campaign, yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
So I downloaded that and then quickly realized this is one of those things that I will never ever go pro in. I will never.
Yeah.
You only
be,
just realized that? Yeah.
Well, I'll never be competitive because after watching that video of tournament play and then me going through the tutorial and bumbling around having to move the camera with the mouse, I will never get my APMs there. But
Yeah. Well, what are your APMs? Like you like 4 or 5?
I don't fucking know. Bro. I'm just like, oh, just drag this over these guys. These guys have big guns.
We could do a scrub league for StarCraft 2 if you want. I'll play you some matches in that.
What is your familiarity with StarCraft 2 then?
I played StarCraft 1 with my friend's split screen on Nintendo 64.
All right,
Expansion with 4 megabyte expansion pack.
There we go.
Wow.
Same. There we go. Oh, God.
Wow.
Grub,
I don't think we finished that. I don't think we finished that. It got unplugged before we finished it. So
we should do team games. We should do 2v2 against the community. Maybe
Okay.
maybe we can ask Brad and Norm.
that would be fun. That
'Cause
could
I
be a
don't
good
know
time.
if they've been. I'm sure Brad may check out on Dota here and there, but like I don't know if he's gone back to StarCraft 2.
Probably not for a while. That'd be fun.
Challenge him. We should do a formal challenge right now.
All right, I like it. I'll get the glove out and smack him in the face with it. Let's make
There we go.
Make it happen.
But hey, that game runs incredibly well, especially if you have a modern PC.
You don't say.
Yeah. A lot of weird things for me personally, just going to an RTS for, I don't want to say the first time, but in a while, I guess, where the last RTS I probably played was Halo Wars 2, and that was with a controller. So it feels very odd to say it's like, wow, you have such precise control with the mouse and keyboard, it turns out. Maybe they shouldn't make those for the console.
Oh, okay. Well, what race did you play?
I played Terran.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first campaign, right? Is Terran?
Yeah.
Are you going through? You're going through campaign. You're not like doing bot multiplayer
I think
missions
the
or
campaign's fun. Like I
Yeah.
really liked playing the campaign. They do some like really good progression stuff. Narratively, it's interesting. Visually, it's really cool. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever played multiplayer in any StarCraft game, but I've always enjoyed the campaigns.
Yeah, and I maybe sat in on the campaign for like maybe 2 hours, and then I was just stuck thinking, how come they stopped doing StarCraft?
because of Dotas, because of MOBAs.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I go back to me, and I was thinking this with Unicorn Overlord, where I think I'd enjoy the setting more if it was not a fantasy setting, and I think that has been one of my problems with Dota is like I just don't fucking care about these dudes with swords. Give them a laser sword or a
Yeah.
sandworm or something.
I get the sense that new owner of StarCraft, Phil Spencer, wants to bring back StarCraft with sometime in the next 10 years. But a lot of people that like are responsible for StarCraft 2 have left Blizzard, and they've started up like 3 different studios to make RTSs. Like that's literally happening right now. They got a bunch of funding because hey, we used to work at Blizzard, so people are like, here's a bunch of money, go make a game. And they're all like, well, we're gonna make a StarCraft 2 or StarCraft successor. So there's going to be a little bit of a chance to see what that genre could do here in the next couple of years. And it's really not just them. There's people inspired by that as well that are definitely going to make that happen. We talked to someone on the GB couch, GB at night. Someone was making a StarCraft-like, and they worked on StarCraft. So yeah, it's happening.
I played a StarCraft successor. It was called StarCraft Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you really
right.
play Ghosts?
I actually did play
That's
it. Yeah.
amazing.
On GameCube.
That's
It was at
amazing.
E3 fucking 2007 maybe. And yeah, they had a playable demo of StarCraft Ghost. It did not feel great.
Sure.
For those that are not aware or not very old, StarCraft Ghost was a canceled StarCraft project that was basically Splinter Cell in the StarCraft universe, and you played as a ghost, which is like a,
Elite, like a
elite
Navy
stealthy
SEAL.
spec ops kind of character.
Yeah.
Yeah, conceptually interesting. Didn't feel great when I played it. Maybe that's why it got canceled. But I'd like to see them do more stuff with that series. Like I think there's other directions that aren't RTS that they could take it in. We've seen Riot take the League series into all sorts of different directions. So
Yeah, I've heard people play that original Prey 2 that was like
Oh yeah.
you were like a space bounty hunter or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was ever played. I certainly never played it, but I do remember seeing the demo.
Maybe
for
that's what it was.
which is
Maybe
a
you
really
saw the
impressive
demo.
demo.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it was.
I remember
But
that.
yeah, I don't know if it ever got to playable state.
Right.
I remember Ghost was like the thing that I was like, oh, this is an RTS. I'll play that. You know, I remember
Yeah.
being like peaked over that, but yeah.
And that wasn't too detached from a time when Blizzard was making a lot of different kinds of games. Like, yeah, obviously they had their successes with Warcraft and Starcraft at that time, but before, like a couple years before that, they were making like the Lost Vikings or Three Vikings, Lost Vikings,
Yeah, Lost
and Rock and Roll
Vikings.
Racing. So it's like, yeah, it made sense for them to be like, well, yeah, we can make other kinds of games with these very popular things. And then I think they realized it's like, nah, well, we're just going to focus on what works.
I mean, they have made other kinds of game. You know, they've made Hearthstone and they made Diablo. Well, you know, they have like 6 or 7 genres that they touch on.
Yeah. They don't make Blackthorn anymore though. like
Right,
then.
sadly.
Yeah.
The dangerous thing that this got me thinking of, hey, what if I just devote all my time to and get super into after that little taste of StarCraft 2 is like, what if I just get super into Warhammer just because I like these weird dudes in space?
That's a thing.
I like the painting aspect of it. That part is appealing to me. Is doing
Yeah.
some crafts.
Seems
Jeff, Grove, you
pleasant.
started like nodding your head no, and
I-
just
it
like you
just-
looked
it's-
upset.
It's like if you become a Warhammer guy, you have to become a Warhammer guy. Like
Yeah.
you have to go all in. Like there's no half-assing that. That is showing up to meets on the weekend to put all your little soldier guys on the table and showing them off and getting into the lore and all that stuff. And listen, I'm happy for you if that's where your life is headed, but I do think we will lose you at some point.
Okay. Just wanted a quick pulse check there.
Yeah, this is a saying goodbye is what that is.
I'm turning into a robot because I'm just plugging myself into the machine.
That's right. Yes, the Emperor God. We should play that co-op game again. That Warhammer
That was
40K
fun.
co-op game. Yeah, I want to check in on that again.
Oh yeah, the organs in that game,
Yeah,
fantastic.
I was on my walk the other day. Like I want to listen to that track, and I had to find it and listen to it on my walk. It was a pretty epic walk, Jan.
Something that you all may lose me to is Balatro. And we know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, we
I
get it.
finally had a successful run.
Same.
It was based off of just beefing the crap out of 2 pairs and then just rolling with that. And then just every other Joker, just swapping them out, trying to sell them just to support these 2 pair. And let me tell you, I beat that last final boss ante with like maybe 1 million. And then I was like, I'm hot shit now. I'm going to keep going in endless mode, and immediately got stomped by the next one.
It's really humbling. Yep.
Yeah.
I love
Go ahead,
Balatro. I found myself in a really like sometimes you get that really hot shoe, you know what I mean, where you're just sort of like, oh my god, all these polychrome jokers, I just like everything like makes sense. It's really playing into all my full house bullshit, and then you just hit a wall in such a depressing,
Yeah, it feels bad.
deflating way. It's tough. I've still not done it. I've still not done the run, and I will one day. I'll get there.
Tell you what,
You know?
it really helps when you pay a lot of attention to the organization of the Jokers.
Yeah.
So that helped when I was like, I'm putting the X multiplier, not the plus multiplier, because the plus multiplier just adds to your multiplier. The
Yeah.
X multiplier multiplies your multiplier. So it's like that makes them, it adds up much quicker. So you put that over the side, especially if you have something that's going to cause everything to fire again. And you put that over the side so you get the multiplier twice. Multiplier, excuse me. The thing I've noticed is like, steel cards are very important because if you got a bunch of those in your hand and then you have something that does fire everything that's happening in your hand again, no matter what you play is going to be a huge point getter. So yeah, I still have only won the one time, but I put it down pretty quickly after that to try to get some of these other games out of the way. But it's something I could spend all my time with. I do think about Balatro a lot still.
I do. Like I just wanna like collect.
Go to a casino.
No. I don't want to.
Yeah?
I don't want. And I also want to
You
get.
want
I
to
don't
come
want to give.
with me to a casino?
No, see that like, and again, we'll talk about that story too in the news spot. But like, I don't get that vibe from this game. I understand a little bit how that association is drawn, but Yeah, there's something about how kind of like there's just all the right bells and whistles that fire off. There's something about it that just feels like very like saccharine and sort of sweet about it that I just want to like be up in all the music and the sounds and everything. It's a very comforting gameplay experience for like reasons other than like, you know, number go up, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the big part, like it does do all the dopamine stuff, but I think it's just well designed beyond that. It feels lovingly crafted. And
Yeah.
that's makes it feel better than just like, oh, this is something that is, you know, excreting the sac in my brain that creates dopamine in a really rough way. It's like, no, this is doing it in such a way that feels like art, and that's nice.
yeah, I want to make up more Jokers. I just want to like create Joker cards.
Did you see the Joker card that and Cone made of Mike as Quan Chi?
It's very good.
It's really pretty.
Phenomenal.
It's so nice. Yeah.
Rob, wait. So the Jokers, they don't obey like PEMDAS at all.
It's left to right.
It's just left right.
Left right. Yes. So keep that.
Okay.
It makes a big difference. It really does.
Okay. All right. I got absolutely boned one run because I found a Joker that turns all the cards and it considers them face cards. And then the boss blind I had for that run was basically all face cards are debuffed. So all of my cards were debuffed. It was great.
Oh,
And that was like the sixth round. I was like, all right,
that could happen.
Mountaintop. And then just got pushed off the mountain straight. It's great. Good.
The confidence that you accumulate in that game and just how quickly that rug can get pulled from
I know
under
exactly
you.
what you're talking about. That
You're just like
losing on the 7th ante, the 8th ante. It's rough.
You're walking in and you're like, "What's up, bitches?" I'm gonna skip all these blinds. Let's go. You know?
Oh, 80,000. I got that like every hand for like the last 7 hands. No
I'll
problem.
get that
And
on
then you
high
still get the
card.
cards.
Yeah,
high
exactly.
card. Yeah.
It's just, oh man, some of those bosses, man. Fuck that.
Yeah, it's a drawing cards face down that bones me all the time.
Oh, that is
It's like
so
I just
evil.
have such confidence that I'm like, I'm gonna get through this. I'm just gonna play these cards face down. And it's like high card. Oh, okay, cool. All right, fantastic. Chef Grubb, last game we have here, no game of the week specifically. You have been playing a game that I think is exciting you, and it's exciting me, and I feel it through the internet here.
I hope it's the game that I think. I don't have the rundown in front of me, but I hope it's the game that I'm thinking of.
It's almost certainly not. It is Expeditions, a Mud Runner game. It is a game with
Was that
big
it,
trucks.
Russ? Was that it?
No, that was not it.
Doesn't
It was-
sound
Oh,
like
damn
it.
it. I was actually hoping maybe in the end. I'm a big fan of Spin Tires, which is what this series was originally called when it was like made by some little developer in Eurasia somewhere. I honestly don't know. And they like it was all about, hey, this tire is messing up some mud. Look at this mud deformation technology. And I was like, yeah, I like that. I want to play this. And then it got turned into more of a game with Mud Runner and then Snow Runner from Saber Interactive when they took over the franchise. And now they have this new one that is like, you know, Mud Runner and Snow Runner are very much like, here is a little town, and you need to go around sort of fixing up this bridge. So go get the wood over there, go get the stone over there, drive it over this bridge. We're going to fix this bridge, and now that enables you to get to this other side of town, so you can do the similar kinds of quests over there. And it was like there's a lot of cool stuff to that. And Snow Runner really got it right in terms of making it feel like a good game, where it's like everything was progressing in a satisfying way. This is like an even more gamified version of it, where it's like it is these smaller expeditions and it's much more bite-sized. It seems like it might be more ideal for multiplayer, but I'm early on, and it is still very much that game underneath, where I am in the second tutorial mission and I'm driving my truck over to this the area where I'm supposed to go to like trigger the next tutorial block of text. And I see something over the side. I'm like, oh, I think that's a new truck part I can unlock if I go over there. So I'm driving this like really underpowered exploratory vehicle down, and it immediately tips. And the game like it wasn't supposed to tip. I wasn't supposed to go down there yet. And the game is like, doesn't do anything. It's just like, yeah, you tipped. Like, yeah, deal with that now. And so I have to switch to my other truck, and you can recover the vehicles. You could do all these things, but when I play these games, I tend to want to live with my mistakes because that's much more satisfying. So I go get in another truck, I drive it over there, I get the winch out, I winch the truck back up out of this ravine that it fell down, get it upright again. And that whole process is kind of like the satisfying part for me of this game, where it's like you are going to take risks. You're going to take these big trucks over these hills, and you're going to make dumb mistakes, and you're going to tip and look like an idiot. And now you got to figure out how to solve that. And it's not about, going fast. It is just about big lumbering machines moving over stone at about 4 miles per hour. And then you look behind you, and you went through some mud, and you could see the tracks there, and it looks just so realistic and satisfying. And this game's really good at all that stuff. I am curious, being pretty early on, how I'm going to feel about the sort of mission structure of, in this game, it's not about like, fixing up a little town. It's like, no, you got to go from this point and take this bespoke device that is a radio tower and set it up over there. And it's more about like just going from point A to point B. I'm curious to see how that works. I really have no read on that quite yet, but I am thinking that I will make Jan, maybe you and Dan, get in there with me and play around some of this multiplayer, so I can force you guys to see what it's like and have a good time. So
listen, I love mud. Let me roll around in it. Let me drive around in it. I'll be down,
Yes.
Grub.
As Hopper said in the Super Mario Brothers movie, mud is both clean and dirty at the same time. So
Yes, that's on the box art of this
Yes.
game, as we all know.
That was a great pitch, I want to say, because I had zero interest in it before, and now you described it. It sounds a lot like Death Stranding, and I'm kind of into it.
Yes, when I first saw Death Stranding, I was like, they are making one of those games. So when I played Death Stranding, I was like, I would lose some packages. I was, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to go track down those packages and stuff like that. And the packages would actually disappear. So I was like, I kind of wish this game was even more rough on players than it is. But yes, it is definitely Strand game adjacent. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely into that.
It's worth checking out at the very least.
Can you call the stream with Jan Muddy Buddies?
Well, now I have to.
Yay.
Oh yeah. Let's get dirty, Grub.
Yay.
Jeff, question for you. Do you think you would enjoy living in the Cars universe if you were just like a pickup truck, just driving through the mud?
It's, when I was a kid, I was not like, how some kids are like obsessed with cars and trucks and stuff like that. I was not, but I do find myself more these days, maybe because of these games, when I see like a big truck, I'm like, ooh, that's a big truck. That's cool. So
You're like,
maybe more so now than ever.
Well, is there any interest in like any of like the trucking simulator games at all?
A little
or is
bit,
it just like, is it just like this style from this dev?
This definitely fits my style the most, because it is all about like, I like physics systems. That's the biggest thing for me in games is physics simulations.
I'm into that.
Right, exactly. And that's what I like, paying for your mistakes, because you messed around with a physics simulation, and now you have to like leverage what the physics are capable of to solve this problem you created for yourself. I like that. And now, obviously, a driving simulator is going to have that stuff, but that's more about staying on the straight and narrow and not getting into messy situations in the first place. Here, it's very much about like, listen, the goal is right up that hill, and sure, you could take this game's got some cool stuff to like path out your things a little bit like Breath of the Wild, where it's like, take your drone, look around, and you're gonna find the path. And it's like, well, that path goes way over there, and I only have so much fuel, and it looks like a somewhat rough path, so I'm gonna have to use 4-wheel drive, and that uses a little bit more fuel, and you can like lower your tire pressure to like get more traction, but that uses that much more fuel. And I'm like, I know that's the safe way, but I'm going to use a lot of fuel. Why don't I just try to go up this way that has like one tree up there, and I can winch to that and sort of drag myself up, and you get it in your head like, I can use the physics to solve this problem. And of course, you just make it worse for yourself. And so then you have to actually go get another truck, go the safe way, pull that other car up with the winch to rescue the situation. I love all that stuff, and that's not happening in American Truck Simulator.
Right.
There's a fine line, Grub. I just don't want you turning into like one of these motherfuckers, like these, these like Mad Max fucking losers who like drive around town with their gigantic like 58-inch wheels and their bullshit and like they're just negative attitude. And I just don't want you to. There's a fine line. Like you can be a truck perv, as you clearly are.
Yes, I think I am. And I think the way that if it were to manifest in, IRL, I would get one of those like $2,000 Chinese mini trucks.
What? Yeah, I know what those are. Okay,
it's not that much bigger than a golf cart, but it's like got a flatbed back there.
Sure.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's fucking get one.
Let's vinyl wrap one. Yeah, let's do it.
Key trucks, is that what they are? I've been over there. I'm like, I do think about that pretty frequently, because it's like, about twice a year, I find myself renting a truck from Lowe's, and it's like most of that stuff could be done with one of these things, and I bet I could get my money's worth out of that
I
thing
feel
pretty
like
quick.
these are like $600, right? Like, how much could they be?
I think they got up to about $2,000 recently.
Okay,
So yeah,
cool.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I'll trade in
we
my
get
car
a
right
Swiss one,
now.
a giant bomb one. Yeah,
Let's get a
put
giant
a logo
bomb
on
key
there.
truck.
I'll drive around the city just with the bomb logo on. That'll
Russ
be fine,
Frushtick,
right?
tell us this is a good idea.
Yeah,
Well,
endorse
driving
this.
around the city with a bomb logo probably not the best idea. So
Okay, that's you're
Keep in
keeping
mind,
us
I live in
honest.
San
That's what.
Francisco, though, so things are just like
That's
off
why
the
we need
wall.
your input.
All right, but no, it's good to have this vetted. Thank you, Russ. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
it's very important.
What was your game? What was the game you were talking
Yeah, I'm
about?
curious.
Yeah, this is very important. And I'm sure you guys have talked about it before, but I'm going to reiterate
Okay.
that this is the best multiplayer game that I've played over the last 5 years.
Okay.
It's called Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, no.
Now that I got Like a Dragon out of the way, it is the big part of that was to spend a lot more time in Helldivers 2, a game that I
It
enjoy a
is
lot.
Unbelievable. I have not felt the drive to play multiplayer I can't even remember the last time I've like felt this push. It is such a cooperative, intense, funny, silly, goofy experience to like work together with a bunch of other folks trying to like blast away bugs and collect samples and rush out at the last second as like the entire evac point gets overrun. They've done such an amazing job. I'm so impressed by the studio, which is obviously like was not expecting the like enormous success that this thing was.
And really,
Obviously,
they were
it was
just
the first-
making their game because
Yeah.
it's Helldivers 1 from a slightly different perspective, and a lot of the features are the same. And it's like we're just making the thing we like to make, and
Right.
it blew up.
and it blew up and you know it was for 2 weeks pretty unplayable from a like access standpoint, which is obviously a drag, but you know, props to them, they have really gone all out to try to make that right. And I would even add, like, as a game, it is structurally like could be way greedier than it is. Like they really are very generous with the amount of content you're getting for the $40.
Yeah.
Even though there are battle passes and things like that, they're constantly giving you the real money currency in the game just by playing. So for people that are really dedicated, can earn enough to buy battle passes and buy new cosmetics. And yeah, I like every time I play that game, I have an amazing like shareable experience that I don't normally have when I play multiplayer games.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the kind of thing where it lives in a similar space to me as the games where it's like it's about the physics. The game has a deep physics system, but it's all about like the consequences of your actions are non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
They will happen. There's no like sometimes like if you have the iframes here or something like that. No, you're gonna pay for everything you do if you don't do it the right way. And I think people are realizing that rules. It's very much in the vein of, you know, it's not a From Software game, but it has similar sort of vibes of we are making our thing, and you have to kind of agree to be like a part of what's going to happen here. We're not going to meet you halfway. You meet us halfway, and I think people are welcoming that.
Yeah, I think it walks the line. You know, I worry that someone might hear that and think it's like an Arma 2 level sim, and it's certainly not that. But
No.
you do have to be very intentional with what you're doing. And I think they own the fact that people are going to fuck up and, you know, kill their teammates and stuff like that using airstrikes. I mean, they've been making this sort of game forever. Even before Helldivers, they were making the Magicka series, which is all about like accidentally team killing your buddies. So they know how funny and silly it can be, and they just kind of leaned into it. The other thing I would say is, unlike a lot of multiplayer games, you can really have a great time with someone that's just starting out paired with someone that's been playing for 30 hours.
Yeah.
There are unlocks that you get from leveling up and spending currency and stuff like that. But really, like, there's a lot of early stuff that you get that will make you able to contribute in these later maps. And it's not like you need anything to really, like, help out the rest of the team. You can just, like, oh, I'm going to call in these, like, anti-tank rockets that normally, you know, you might pick something else if you were higher level. But here, you've got a low-level option. And so I think they've just designed a game that is incredibly friendly for people just jumping in and having a good time with their friends, which is, again, pretty rare these days.
Have you been queuing up with any randoms at all for us?
I've done both. I've definitely played with people I know. I've played with other members of the Besties. I've played with other friends, and I've been playing with randoms. And the randoms, I'm usually pretty impressed because I think people know that like the end goal is more or less the same for everyone. There was a stretch there where I know that a lot of people found out about the game, and there were like XP like hacks more or less. Like people were running the same mission over and over again. So a lot of new players ended up like a very high level and were trying to like queue in in those random queues, and you'd end up with people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. And that's not the most fun with randoms. It's fine if it's a buddy and you're on Discord, but it's not the most fun with randoms. But here, it felt like just a real, like, once you're playing with people that really know it, total command over the situation, even if it's people that aren't on mic. Like a lot of people aren't on mic, and it's like fine, which I really appreciated. So
yeah, that's the thing that's has me encouraged, is that I've heard a lot of people have good experiences not being on mic, and I'm like getting into the night, and I'm like, I do want to play a game, and I look over at the PC, and I was at the PC all day. I think I'm just gonna stick to the Steam Deck. And now I got the game. I heard the game runs pretty okay on there. And if it doesn't, I'll get the Roger Outlier.
It does. I've played it on Steam Deck as much as I played it on gaming PC. And
really,
that's music to my ears. I'm going to be playing a lot more of it that way.
You'll probably have to run it at like a 40 FPS for what it's worth.
40 is great for me.
You turn down the visuals and it runs very smoothly at 40. So it's totally playable.
Okay,
that's awesome.
I'm down.
I had a very positive experience before we go to break here, playing with a rando, and I just wound up sticking with this dude for maybe a good couple of missions. He was on mic, he would still ping, but the only ever thing he said on mic was "Hell yeah, brother!" Just in different tones.
Yeah,
maybe it was Dan. Maybe it was Dan's alter ego from Fargo.
I had a very similar circumstance where it was a guy that like could have been named Brooklyn with like a deep Brooklyn accent, and he was like on our squad, and he was just like dropping like, "Hey, get out of here." It was so amazing, and it was like exactly what I wanted from like a random experience with players online. It's been dynamite. There's been leaks about what they're doing in the future, and I'm like so pumped about how that game grows.
The first game had mechs in it, and obviously they were saying like mechs are coming soon. So yep, I'm down.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, can't wait to step on one of my teammates.
God. Yep. I mean, we played that Helldivers 1, and it, like just kind of in that moment, I'm like, this is such a cool idea. I hope Helldivers 2 works out, and to see it just live up to and beyond expectations has been so nice. It's been so cool to see.
It's also funny that it's built in an engine that like no one has touched in 5 years. And people are like, oh, that's a bad engine. But honestly, this is an entire team that knows that engine backwards and forwards and can pull off the insane visuals that are in this game. And man, I mean, again, it's not been the smoothest of launches, but now that they seem to have it kind of mostly worked out, it's been totally an amazing experience.
Atmosphere of an automaton planet, where with explosions and trees blowing up and the fog of war happening, and their glowing red eyes and lasers shining through all that stuff.
It's the best Terminator game anyone has ever made.
By a country mile.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen that video circulating where someone pointed out that this game reminds them exactly of playing through Metal Gear Solid 5?
Yes, that shit was crazy. Like the one-to-one animations.
Yeah, the animations are very close. I think they're going to be leaning into the stealth mechanics more in Helldivers as time goes by. They've already been some data leaks about suppressed weapons. So I could even see them like doing like full-on
Navy
stealth
SEAL missions.
Yeah, could be really awesome.
This is how I finally get SOCOM 2 or SOCOM 5, whatever we're at with SOCOM.
He's always so selfish. He's just like, this is how I do espresso SOCOM. Like
that's me. Two things I talk about.
Bet on espresso.
SOCOM.
Somehow gamble on a crane game espresso SOCOM.
Speaking about betting on and stuff, Jeff Grubb did something very mean to me when we jumped on Discord at first, and then he had his virtual camera be Coin Pusher Casino.
Oh,
then
that was fucked up, Jeff.
This motherfucker tells me, "Oh, it's out now, Jan."
You know what? Came out of early access.
You know what I wound up doing in between when my audio?
Oh no, I'm sorry, Jan.
Oh, that made you a robot. That's what made you a robot.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I shouldn't download games while I'm streaming a podcast. Yeah, Coin Pusher, it's out now. God damn it. Oh,
is this really a game based on the Coin Pusher minigame?
Yes, there's like 7 of these on Steam.
Of course. What do you mean?
Oh, see, okay. Let's just. Okay, we're gonna go to break soon, but let's just see this.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, great. Coins get pushed by a thing.
Hey, it's physics.
It's very fun though, Jeff.
I understand.
Look at this.
Look, I got my reticle.
great. You're like inside the push machine.
Yeah.
What a wonderful life.
And this doesn't have any of the pachinko sort of pegs, so like the coins just flopping down like a big stupid coin.
I like
love
the
it.
pegs. I like the pegs better.
Yeah, that was the first level. So this one's pegless.
Is that DLC?
Yeah, you got to pay for the pegs. Yeah.
I'm sure there's an audience for this, but this is the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, you're looking at the audience. Unfortunately,
I'm like halfway there with you, Russ. I mean, people make fun of me about pinball. Get the fuck out of here.
It's just there's just some. It's primal, and by that I mean it's probably evil.
If you are such a physics perv, what are you doing and not being obsessed with pinball?
Oh no, I like pinball a lot. I just
Maybe they just don't like spheres.
Pinball seems expensive, and I don't got the hookup like you do. So.
I'm just saying, like, you can go play it for.
I do when I'm presented with the option, I do play pinball.
Okay, fair. Then we can coexist.
How long does it take to fucking do anything in this game?
You know, the time of physics, the time of like, hey, coins can only move so far.
This is unacceptable.
Oh, look, one fell down. One fell down.
There we go.
Okay, and then what happens when one falls down?
Well, you got to get them down to the second tray there, and then something has to fall down from there.
Those coins,
number go up.
And then you beat the level when you earn enough money.
You sound very skeptical, Russ Frushtick.
I'm staring at this gameplay, which I can't even like. It's just like a shelf that's moving back and forth. Is there going to be like an epic moment where like a ton of coins fall and I'm going to be like converted?
Very
Maybe in an hour.
Very
Listen, if it happened every time, then it would not be working on the part of your brain that only gets happy when it happens 1 out of 100 times. But yes, that is what's going to happen, Frushtick.
I'm sorry, Russ. Do you not enjoy watching paint dry?
This is like if you were playing Angry Birds and you could only push the bird like a meter. Yeah, like it just like splooted down on the ground, and you have to do that 600 times for the birds to eventually reach the pigs.
Think of this as like it's almost turn-based now, right?
I mean,
sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a turn playing something else.
I mean, what's more nice? Very good.
They fell. All right.
Yeah, they fell.
All right.
Yeah. Level up.
We're gonna pull Jeff Grubb away from pushing coins and get him to do the news right after this break.
Oh shit.
said this during the break, but I'm going to say it again. I got an email from an old Airbnb host asking if I wanted to go in on their place and kind of do a pseudo timeshare. I'm not about it. And I don't think I'm about Airbnb anymore. Russ, I feel like you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think I'm totally done. And I was like a big Airbnb person for a while.
You were the
That was
first.
always-
You were the first. Yeah.
that was my first thought. That's where I would go is like, oh, I'm traveling somewhere. I'm going to look at Airbnbs. And even as recent as like last summer, I was still doing it. But I started having really miserable experiences. I had one in particular.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Wait, it couldn't have been as bad as the one that we had that time.
I don't know, man.
Oh.
Remember the hair? Remember the hair? The hair art?
What?
Oh, yeah, that was terrifying. Yeah. Jeff and I stayed at one with a gaggle. It wasn't just us on a romantic date, sadly. Yeah, there was like terrifying art on the walls, and there was a. No, this was far worse than that because that at least was clean.
Yeah.
So this was upstate New York, and we showed up, and it was like a split situation where there was like a little house and like a furnished barn, like one of those barns that's like decked out and like, you know, nice, like you can live in this barn. It's not like a barn. And we showed up, and I was
Big
with
party?
my...
Like big party?
Sorry?
How many people here?
It's me, my wife, and my son. That's it.
Okay.
And again, not a huge space, but this was at a time when we were really trying to sleep train him. And so our intention was we were going to put him in the house and use the baby monitor, and my wife and I would sleep in the barn. And we got into the house. There was no heat in the house, totally heat off. And this is like, you know, it wasn't no heat kind of time of year. And then we go and we notice there's no towels in the bathroom, none.
Oh, what are
and
we
no
doing?
bags of no garbage bags in any of the garbage bags.
Okay.
So we're like, okay, this is weird, but that's fine. I'm gonna message the owner, and the owner was very apologetic. It's like, oh, I don't know what happened. We started using a different cleaning person. We'll like reimburse you if you want to like go grab stuff. Which at this point I like don't super want to like drive into town. It's late at night.
Sure.
So we get my kids settled. The heat is able to be turned on remotely, I guess.
Oh.
So we get my kids settled. He's asleep, and my wife and I go to like get set up in the barn area. And again, the barn is like nice, and it's, you know, got that like kind of LL Bean vibe to it.
Okay.
And we go up, there's like a lofted bed area, and we go up, and there's no sheets on the bed. And at this point, it's like 10:30 at night, and I'm messaging the guy being like, hey, there's no sheets on the bed. And he's like, oh, there might be in the other house. So I go into the other house, and then my kid, again, is still sleeping. So we're trying to like not wake him up, hunting around for sheets. We find sheets. We go back. We put the sheets back on the bed, and I go to use the bathroom. And here, my friends, was the breaking point, because in the bathroom was the largest dump I've ever seen in my entire life. Fully unflushed and like dried. So it had been there.
All right, I
for
see the problem.
Ghost
ages.
dumps. Dumps.
Everything before that, I was like, I can manage this. And that was like, no.
That is the ultimate disrespect. Like, what the hell happened?
So apparently what happened was the owner had just switched cleaning people. And I guess according to him, the new cleaning person, which I kind of believe this because he was very highly rated, as I only went to highly rated people. And he did seem genuinely shocked and horrified.
Okay.
Okay.
I just love that, like, we used a different cleaning service and they just didn't understand the assignment.
It's one of those pooping cleaning services. Darn it.
Left the poop in.
Let's get rid of the poop.
Oh, you mean take the dirt away? Okay. Got it.
So all this is pretty bad. It's now very late at night.
Yeah.
And I'm messaging Airbnb to not only get a refund, but figure out where we're going to stay. And at this point, I spend an hour with their customer service where they're really fighting me. They're like, well, you know, at this point I can't leave because my son is asleep. It's the middle of the night and we don't have a place to stay. So we need to stay somewhere. We're going to stay on couches or whatever we're going to do in the poop house. But I need them to A, refund me for the night, and B, find a new place for me to stay. and it was an hour of me fighting with them. It was like an awful, truly awful customer service experience that eventually I did get the refund. They did say, okay, we'll give you 20% more of what you spent to stay somewhere else. But what I sort of landed on was with the kid, I just cannot take the risk anymore that when I show up at a place, it's not going to be, again, my standards are not, I don't need a fucking 5-star experience. I need no shit in the toilet and sheets on the bed.
I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man. You know?
And I can't take the risk of like blowing up a trip. So again, I have a trip coming up in a month. You know, a buddy of mine is staying in an Airbnb. He's like, hey, you want to go? We can get like a big one and we'll go splits. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm going to find like a hotel and just stay there because I can't show up and just risk that it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, I mean that experience is I do think that experience is pretty atypical, right? Like I
agree with you, but I've definitely had other experiences that weren't as bad as that, but bad enough that it's like
and
for the amount I'm paying, which is equal to a hotel.
Totally.
I'd rather just fucking stay at a hotel and know what I'm getting.
I for the most part, I'm mostly okay with Airbnb. I think the part of it that's really starting to rub me the wrong way is the same thing like with Uber, where like the sort of the honeymoon period is over and now it's the experience is like you said, you are rolling the dice in a lot of way, and you're also getting a lot of disingenuous reviews that like something is inherently wrong with the review thing. Like, you know, I've been to Vermont a couple times in the last 6 months, and like I had one that was phenomenal and then one that was like just as highly rated, but like light years away from what the other one was. And there's this inconsistency that I just think is like broken.
I think what happened, my guess of what happened was for the first 5 or even 10 years of Airbnb, however long it's been around, they had people that were genuinely going and putting their places up for Airbnb. It's a place that they normally live in, or like it's their guest house. Yeah. And then, oh, we're going to be away this weekend or whatever. And so they really were like pot committed to making sure it was a good experience. And I think what has happened is a bunch of, financial organizations have gone out and bought a bunch of homes over the pandemic when the prices skyrocketed, just selling it out. And those companies will never, ever give a shit about an Airbnb. They're just going to do the bare minimum to get you in and out and paid. I did actually, as we're talking about this, remember one other Airbnb experience. I had it in San Francisco. I got back to my door one night. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and there was an eviction notice on the door.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've had some moments with that company over the years. I think I'm done though.
Yeah. Oh God, I just remember a host reaching out to me afterwards because, you know, when you leave a review, you have that message that is only to the host that you posted. I just kindly said like, hey man, your water kettle had mold in it. Just heads up. Like, I'm not going to blast you for that or whatever, because that's probably something that only gets cleaned out occasionally. This host sends me an email afterwards saying like, how dare I tell them how to run their Airbnb?
Oh my God.
And like proceeds to give me a bad rating. It's like, dog, I'm just letting you know so no one that would actually get super mad at it gets like upset with you or some shit.
So anyway, that was the mentality I was in when I had to decide, do I want to review the shithouse?
Yeah.
And I was like, my default is normally yes. I'm going to be very honest. But what I didn't want to have happen is like this guy to like come back at
retaliate,
me. Yeah. So I just didn't review it at all. I didn't do a positive, obviously, but like, I didn't want that anxiety of like wondering what this guy would possibly do. So
what a great system we have.
It's just really shitty. And like, again, the prices these days with the like add-on fees and everything that they throw at you, trying to make Airbnb a profitable company, just stay at a fucking hotel if you can. I know it's not always an option, but if you're able to, definitely a more consistent bet.
Yeah. Remember hotels?
Yeah.
Yep.
Occasionally.
Turns out we actually need them.
Yeah. God, I miss the little soaps. Jeff Grubb, you know what I also miss?
What's that?
The news.
Ooh.
I actually don't miss the news. The news has been just poop.
News has been rough.
The news has been poop house.
The news has been dry poop house.
Give the news a bad review.
Nintendo Switch emulator Yuzu will fold and have to pay $2.4 million to Nintendo to settle a lawsuit that Nintendo brought against it. Nintendo recently filed that lawsuit against the developers of Yuzu, a prominent Nintendo Switch emulator, accusing them of enabling piracy on a large scale. Now it appears that the developers of Yuzu have agreed to cease their activities and comply with Nintendo's demands, including paying $2.4 million in damages. Tropic Haze, the LLC responsible for developing Yuzu, and Citra, the emulator for 3DS, that'll become relevant here in a moment, have announced this agreement. Basically, they're handing over like the Yuzu website over to Nintendo. They're promising to take everything down off GitHub. The stuff has already happened. They can't distribute it anymore. Basically, they are wiping it from the internet as much as possible from the official source of the thing, and they will have to cease development on it as well. So if like a new game comes out and it doesn't run well on Yuzu, well, that's just not going to get updated, at least not by the people at Tropic Haze. This, as part of this, the people who developed Yuzu were also responsible for Citra. They are taking Citra offline as well. So the 3DS emulator for a platform that has been deprecated and is no longer supported by Nintendo, including taking down the eShop, I believe, that is no longer available as well. Basically the same exact fate as Yuzu. This lawsuit was announced last week, and it was the idea from Nintendo was you are violating DMCA by showing people how to bypass our encryption. It wasn't necessarily that the emulator itself is illegal. It is how you are talking about it and walking people through ways to enable piracy. And there's been some evidence that the people responsible for Yuzu did a lot of these things. For example, they had a Patreon, maybe already kind of towing the line of that's not a great idea. What's especially not a great idea is apparently behind this Patreon paywall, they had specific fixes to get copyrighted games running on Yuzu that you could only get if you went through the Patreon. And it's that kind of stuff that's like, as soon as people started hearing that, they're like, oh brother, you effed up. And now everyone's going to have to pay because these things will not be available anymore.
Two things here. First one, hello, Yuzu.
Okay, pretty good.
Number two, don't fucking open up a bong store and be like, you can smoke weed in all this. Yeah, just put your weed in here.
Yeah.
Put all your weed in there and then put a lighter to it and then smoke all of it out of this thing that's really only for weed, but we should be saying it's for tobacco.
I mean, there is Ryujinx, which is another Switch emulator that has sort of dodged this so far. Because they've been very buttoned up on this stuff. They don't say this stuff out loud, at least not frequently and not too often, not into such a degree that Tropic Haze did with its Patreon. And obviously they're trying to get people to sign up for their Patreon, so they were being a little cavalier, but Nintendo came for them. In the end, what does this mean for long-term results for emulation, things like that. People are still going to keep working on this stuff. It's very much a hobby for a lot of people. But it does seem like it will probably have a somewhat short-term cooling effect on the kinds of work that is done on emulators for Nintendo hardware, which has traditionally been the most popular thing to emulate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem like one of the things that came up in the story was Nintendo claiming that because Yuzu's primary purpose was to circumvent the encryption that is in Nintendo device, or I guess Switch devices specifically, and then Citra to a lesser extent. That's what was like, and again, everything you mentioned about the Patreon certainly relevant as well. So it does, to me, what that tells me is like, I think earlier consoles where like encryption was like either zero or very, very limited, it kind of makes me think like that's not something people are going to chase. It does make me wonder what it means for the future, where like I think a lot of these companies are going to look to their consoles and make sure there's that layer of protection, and whether that affords them the ability to go after YouTubers just purely talking about like how to emulate, or not even how to, just like, hey, this device emulates GameCube games, or this device emulates PS5 games really well. Is that enough to go after someone in the future? And that's, I think, the scary scenario. In this.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the results here is that they're not going to court, right? So the DMCA rules about bypassing encryption are once again not going to be put to the test. So we will not have known precedent to be able to know what would happen if someone were to take a particular case to court going forward, which has been the situation we've been in for years now, which has mostly been enabled both sides to coexist to a certain extent. Now, obviously, there's always pushback from Nintendo or some of these other companies here and there. But Nintendo usually threatens with cease and desist because they will have the power of, like, we could take you to court and we could settle this and we could create this precedent. But everyone else is like, well, we don't really know what will happen. So what can we get away with? And it seems like we're going to we will likely return to that equilibrium here pretty soon. But at the very least, like, Nintendo being able to quickly to shut this down and shut it down hard is definitely going to scare off some people from even attempting this going forward.
So I have a money question. So the company, they had an LLC. The guys, made Yuzu. So effectively, we have to imagine they don't have $2.5 million lying around. Can the LLC just go bankrupt and the people kind of like just scatter to the wind at that point?
I think that's the idea of an LLC, right?
Yeah, exactly. Limited liability. There you go.
They probably do have quite a bit. They were making about $30,000 a month from their Patreon.
Oh, okay.
So they probably do have a decent amount of money in the bank. Probably still not $2.4 million, though. So, yeah, that's probably what happens here. They fold, they bankrupt, they disband, and the limited liability protects the individuals up to a certain point here.
Right. Yeah, it really feels like if you're making emulators, this needs to be a personal passion project kind of thing. If you're looking to make money on it, you're probably going to get
and you do have to know where to draw the line. Like, so you were talking about some of those older consoles and like didn't have necessarily encryption, but they do have copyrighted things inside of them, which is the stuff that has always been protected. So the BIOS in a PS1 still copyrighted to this day. You know, the patent on a PS1 is up after 20 years. You could do whatever you want with, like, you can make your own PS1 now if you want, but the BIOS is copyrighted. Like, they own the code to that, and that is going to last for decades longer. So when they make a PS1 emulator, they say, hey, we don't know where you can get a BIOS. Have you heard of the website Google? And that's all they'll say. And that's the layer of protection there. Yeah. And that has mostly been where everyone's like, okay, we're fine with this. You built this emulator in a clean room. That's legal. That's been protected. Then that is legally protected. There is precedent to protect emulators. But any of this copyrighted material and the newer untested DMCA encryption stuff is still questionable. And in this case, it was just Yuzu telling people how to bypass the encryption, telling them. And like, that's where you said, like, YouTubers and stuff, there's still some questions there. And I think there's definitely going to be times where Nintendo's going to be more bullish on that stuff and potentially going after YouTubers and stuff like that. So yeah, this is not ideal. All right. EA had a bunch of layoffs last week. So last week we talked about the PlayStation layoffs. EA quickly followed that up. They cut about 670 jobs, 5% of their global workforce. My understanding is that is not the extent of it, because some people went into consultation periods, because certain countries you can only cut so many jobs immediately. So that number's probably going to grow over the next 6 months or so. Yeah, not great. They shut down Ridgeline Games, which is one of the studios that was working on Battlefield. They canceled that Star Wars first-person shooter that was being worked on at Respawn. The team there was not laid off, but they are being either reassigned to other projects at Respawn or even other projects inside of EA. Because basically what happens, there was a budget to make that game, and they're not going to replace that budget to work on something else. That budget just went away. And then the sort of argument here from EA is, we are looking at spending less on making games that are other people's IP, and we are going to work on our own IP. And what I've heard out of EA is they saw how much money they saved from not paying FIFA, and they want to replicate that across all of their games as much as they can, which is a silly thing, because you can only, like, that was a special case, but whatever. They're like, hey, we like saving money, we want to save more money. And so they're gonna keep making that Star Wars Jedi game, because the first two did well. They're gonna make that third one, but they're not gonna make that first-person shooter. They're gonna still make the tactics strategy game that they're working on with the Bit Reactor, which is an external studio that's already contracted. That seems like something that they probably like, oh, that's a moderate budget to begin with, so they probably feel good about that one. But when it comes to other games in the future, it seems like they're going to focus on things they own, which is a bit of a whiplash from the sentiment last year when these companies, and this includes EA, were saying, hey, known IPs are way more valuable. They're worth the price. because getting a game into, or making a new game and making it into a hit is very expensive and risky. And so we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. And now they've shifted very quickly to being like, we love saving money, so that we're going to make our own IP.
Which is just so crazy because the time in between those two very different and opposing statements were made was not like a development cycle.
Right.
It was not.
Right? Like,
it was literally a couple months. Yes.
So like, what the fuck?
I mean,
right?
You know, we have another story, I think, about Warner Brothers that we'll get to here in a little bit, where it just, at a certain point, it feels like these companies are, and the executives at these companies are just saying the thing in the moment that they think investors want to hear. And obviously that's probably what's happening most of the time. And right now the wind was shifting towards, the big win that we just recently had was we didn't pay $100 million this year to FIFA for the FIFA name. And we're going to tell them that's the new story for EA. It's how we're going to save money by making our own IP.
It's just crazy, though, because, like, that's not the example you put forward, because soccer is not IP.
Yeah.
Like, people get that this is basically a FIFA game.
Yes.
They get it.
They get it.
But you can't do that with, like, an actual IP, like
No.
a Star Wars or whatever, that gets people in the door. So, like, I'm sure they'll do Titanfall games, but, like, what are the other big EA IPs that they could start pulling out of the closet that's going to, like, crush short of, like, starting from scratch?
Well, I guess that takes us to this next story. The new game from Titanfall's director is reportedly set in the same universe. This comes from Giant Bomb reporter Jeff Grubb. Hi, everybody. What I heard on this one is this is not Titanfall 3, but they are making another game in the Titanfall universe. I don't necessarily know what that means, but when I asked, they were like, not like a new Titanfall with a full single player and multiplayer suite and all that stuff. And so, again, what exactly that means, some sort of offshoot, I don't know.
It's got robots in it.
Yeah, it does. Apparently, it will have mechs in it. Yes, Titans. It's going to have the Titans in it. Now, I think a lot of people are like, well, yeah, okay, you're not going to make the Star Wars first-person shooter, so make a Titanfall 3. But even that's like, they're not ready to, and willing to do that, or at least not whole hog. So, yeah, I don't know. They are busy trying to rescue Battlefield in a lot of ways. So I guess that's some of the answer here. But really, I mean, Russ, you put that question forth. I don't think there really is an answer there. I think it only goes so far as we save money on FIFA. That was great. Let's do more of that. And they haven't really thought about what that looks like beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Need for Speed. Obviously, they've got Madden. They've got Titanfall, Battlefield. Yeah. The Sims.
Yeah, I mean, the Sims 5 is going to come out, and that's going to be a big thing.
Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah.
That's basically...
Yeah, yeah, they're doing Skate 4, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I want them to... I want more studios to have more control over their destiny, which does mean not necessarily being reliant on, like, Disney, like, giving you the nod to make your thing. But I also realize that, like, for every, like, creative game that's starting from scratch, it doesn't always end well. I think if the example that popped in my head was Shadows of Amalur, or whatever that was called.
Mortals of Avium?
That's another one.
But it's the same. It's like, that's okay. Yep.
Yeah. But, like, you just forget those games existed. And you know, that it's because it's really hard to start from scratch, whether it's a good game or not. So
this is widely held, this was the opinion of most executives across the industry just last year, that is a huge uphill battle to get a new IP off the ground, and so it's not even worth it. It's worth paying the blood money to Disney or whatever. Now,
it reminds me of how insane it is that Apex Legends A was a success and B didn't mention Titanfall anywhere in the branding. Like, really super interesting, and I want to know, like, why that even happened. But...
Yep, it's bizarre. Now, I mean. We talk about these studios being to have the free reign. Everyone at Respawn was super into that Star Wars first-person shooter. They loved it. It was everyone that I've talked to about it says it was amazing right now. It was already an amazing game, and they are brokenhearted that they're not going to get to put it out. It is completely brutal, especially after some similar stuff happened with Titanfall Legends, which was going to be the Titanfall 3. That stuff that was getting to a point where it was amazing. They had really good ideas for that, but no, this Star Wars first-person shooter was already amazing. So it just stinks.
How long do you think until Respawn leadership starts considering other options?
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is like when do?
Well, because they already went through this with Activision, obviously, and then they went over to EA, and,
right?
And so
So that's interesting because if you actually look at the credit list of people who are at Respawn for a bunch of these games, many of them have already let their stock vest and they have moved on and started their own studios.
Yeah.
So that like, while, you know, there's a lot of institutional talent and knowledge at Respawn still that is worth paying attention to. It's worth giving that studio respect to this day. And there are a lot of people there that have been there for a very long time and make Respawn what it is. There are also many, many key senior developers who have started their own studios. I think up to like 3 or 4 at this point. And I think like, hey, where's God, what's the leader that of Respawn that moved on and now he's in charge of Battlefield? Either way, like he's like overseeing Battlefield now. He's probably spread pretty thin and like can only pay so much attention to Respawn. So it does feel like Respawn earned their keep and earned the right to do whatever they want, and now they're getting kicked around again. It's a sad story, I think.
Vince, you're talking about
Vince Zampella. Thank you, appreciate it. Mentioned that Star Wars strategy game from EA is still in the works, despite the mass layoffs. So yeah, they're still making that. It seems like that's because of BitReactor already being a contracted studio. Other news from EA. EA is confident that Dragon Age Dreadwolf will release this year. This is another thing that I heard where people are like, hey, so what does EA have happening this year? This is an owned IP. This is a game that they were thinking could even come out last year. Excuse me, I hit my microphone. Got moved to this year, but now it does seem like so far it's still sticking to releasing later this year. And I believe that they've even said that they're going to show it off this summer at some point. I think they confirmed.
It's kind of crazy that it's been like this quiet. It's like Metroid Prime 4 equivalent of this quiet for this long. And the idea that it would come out this year with like basically no preamble is pretty wild. It's not unheard of, but it doesn't happen too often.
Right. I think if they have like a reintroduction this summer, that gives them a solid 3, 4, 5 months to make stuff, make waves with that, and then they launch it in November. That seems plausible.
Sure.
But to be fair, this could move again. This does happen. But right now, internally, it sounds like they're pretty confident it will come out this year. And that's like, if they get a win with Dragon Age and BioWare sort of bounces back, that solves quite a few problems
that's
for
true, because then
EA
Mass
games.
Effect can kind of revive itself, and that's theirs, and
that's theirs. And BioWare is definitely has been an expensive studio for them recently, where a lot of people work there, and that's why I think there was layoffs last year that affected BioWare to a great degree. So if they can get a win here, that like it's like, okay, the EA game side, EA Sports is kind of taking care of itself, and then these are 2 separate things now. And if BioWare can kind of stand up and stand next to Respawn once again, I think EA will be in a much better situation.
And it'll temporarily validate the argument of like, oh, we do have original IP, like it's all good, like
Yeah, I mean they do. They have probably a deeper bench than Activision does, quite honestly.
Sure.
From a overall IP, it's just a question of like sticking the landing and releasing good stuff.
Right. And they only have opportunity costs. They only have so many studios to actually make these things, and which one's going to be actually worth the squeeze there? It's a big question. Balatro, we talked about this a little bit, or at least referenced it, removed from several digital stores due to mistaken ratings change. The popular poker-based roguelike game Balatro has been unexpectedly removed from several digital storefronts due to a sudden change in its age rating from 3+ to 18+. Publisher, PlayStack, asserts that the game does not promote gambling and believes the rating decision is unfounded. The change is because ratings agencies were like, no, this is like gambling. This is despite previous assurances from ratings boards that the game's content was appropriate for the previous lower rating. The rating was changed anyhow without warning. This means it is not available on many digital stores that do not allow games just across the board that are 18+. It is still available on Steam, though, because they let anything on that store.
You might as well pull Clubhouse games off the eShop at that point. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. What are the gambling adjacent things? It uses the word ante, it uses blind, it has chips, and it has a deck of cards, and
a dollar sign.
And a dollar sign, right? Yes. But it's like all of those things are abstracted versions of gambling terminology at worst.
I think. Look, it's obviously like a very surface level, very shallow assessment of like, what am I looking at here, right? In the same way that like, yes, when I first started playing this game Did my wife ask me if I was gambling? I said, no, I'm not gambling. Okay, please respect my time here. But yeah, and right away, like, yeah, I just think like such a little amount of effort is needed to like investigate this to realize what it is. It's depressing. It is very depressing, and I don't think "mistaken" needs to be in quotes because it is mistakenly an 18 plus in the eyes of this rating. So
I'm gonna throw in another curveball and say it's ridiculous to me that this would get hit and a Gashapon wouldn't.
That's what I was gonna bring up. Like, there's so many gotchas coming out from that we'd never even hear of outside of the MiHoYo verse.
This is Big Solitaire fucking coming in, seeing a poker game and saying, not on my watch.
Well, didn't they announce like Pocket Jockey is coming out on the Switch soon? And like, are they gonna flag that because it has cards in it as well?
I mean, and horse racing is big gambling, right? Yeah. Probably not.
Any of the Yakuza games, right? Yep. Because they have straight up mahjong.
I think those are M-rated already, so we're probably good on them.
Yeah. I wonder because this says 18 plus, and I wonder if like, cause I thought they were like going up to like 17 plus, maybe 18 plus is higher than that. I'm not sure if this is actually how it breaks down, but yeah, as it stands, I believe the game is still not on many digital stores throughout Europe. So it is going to have huge financial ramifications for this game. That was, by all accounts, doing very, very, very well. I mean, like 30,000 concurrents on Steam or something like that.
Yeah, I think Mr. Thunk is going to be fine. I think this sheds more light on the game in a way that
they're having a little bit of a Streisand effect.
Kind of can't buy, right? So yeah, you know, call me a degen gambler all you want, you know.
Moving on here, Gravity Rush 2 Remastered is coming to PS5 and PC, according to some reports. According to leaks from a user named Orangey on the Team Alua Gravity Rush Discord server, which is where I get all my news. Gravity Rush 2 Remastered is reportedly in development for release on PS5 and PC. The news suggests that fans can anticipate official announcements in May, with the game currently playtesting. This is cool. I kind of wish this would include a Gravity Rush 1 as well, because I never played that.
I played that shit on beta, baby.
Me too.
Right.
It's great.
Damn.
So good.
And there's no reason to think that you couldn't get that to work with, motion controls on a modern controller or whatever.
I think there was a console version of Gravity Rush.
Yes, there was a PS4 version.
That's right. Okay, yeah. So that's. I wish both was happening, but I'm not gonna complain. More Gravity Rush. That's cool. There is a Gravity Rush like anime happening. Maybe it already did happen.
Oh, let's not get crazy here.
Listen, if it encourages Sony to do more stuff with these like other franchises, I'll take it. But I think this is a good sign that like Sony at least has a memory of these games that aren't, Ghost of Tsushima, Uncharted, Last of Us, and God of War.
Yeah, I mean, well, as their development cycles keep getting longer and longer, they need to fill in these gaps. And Nintendo's learned that lesson, and they've been doing all these re-releases of their stuff. So I think it makes total sense that Sony would do the same thing.
Yep, and they they closed London studios, they closed Japan studios. These are teams where London Studios was taking kind of a long time making VR games and stuff like that. They were, but Japan Studios was the company that would put out smaller games and would partner with other developers in Japan to make interesting stuff. Yeah,
they made Bloodborne, did they not? Or they were part of the Bloodborne process?
They were part of the Bloodborne process, absolutely. Yeah.
So where does that leave Bloodborne?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you can kind of see why maybe something doesn't happen with that because that important part of the cog of the machine is gone now, and so it's like someone holds the keys to that, to making that process take place, and now they're not there. Clearly these games are taking longer and longer, so they need some solution. Getting a lot more remasters and remakes and re-releases is one thing. I just hope that leads to them also being able to experiment with new versions in like Gravity Rush as well. Warner Brothers wants to shift away from volatile AAA console games and lean into free-to-play and mobile. During a Morgan Stanley speaking event, Warner Brothers Discovery gaming boss J.B. Perrette outlined the company's gaming strategy, focusing on more live service, mobile, and free-to-play games to reduce volatility and generate consistent revenue. They plan to leverage core franchises like Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and DC across different gaming platforms. Perret emphasized the importance of owning IP and studios for long-term success and teased upcoming mobile free-to-play games such as Harry Potter Quidditch game and a Wonder Woman title. Okay, so just real quick, Warner Brothers last year had the #1 best-selling video game in the United States and I believe in the world with Harry Potter. Now, to be fair to them, that doesn't mean it was the #1 grossing game. Stuff like Fortnite and these live service games almost certainly made more. Minecraft probably made more. So I get it if you are someone just looking at the numbers. But they did put out a live service game recently called Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And that he explicitly pointed to that as an example of one of the problems. And I don't get how you come to the conclusion that more live service is the answer.
I think...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say in that scenario, we're talking about a live service game that was also incredibly expensive. How long was the development? 9 years?
9 years, basically. Basically 9 years. Like 7 years of working directly on that game, but 9 years since the game before that.
I'm not saying you can fart out free-to-play mobile games, but compared to the money that you spend producing Suicide Squad, it's as close to a fart as you're going to get.
Yep.
And so when you are just looking at the raw numbers, which unfortunately in a capitalist society at a capitalist company like Warner Brothers, that is what they're looking at to make sure their shareholders are getting what they need. That's what they want, is an easy, relatively quick buck to make money on the IP that they have. So it does not shock me in the least that they're not going after the Elden Rings of the world as much as I want them to, because there's a much, quote, safer route in spending a less amount of money on a shitty product that is free that might return a bunch because people are addicted to Gashapon unlocks or whatever it is.
The tough news for them when it comes to that, though, is the mobile gaming landscape very stagnant, very rigid, very kind of locked down. There are a handful of games that always make all the money. A couple come along here or there. And it's not like the Harry Potter, Pokemon Go clone did anything.
Oh, God.
Like they've tried these things before, maybe not WB explicitly, but some things similar to this have happened, and they make no dent. So I mean, they can make the good news is they can make 10 of these for every one AAA game that they're making, and maybe one of those does take off and pays for the rest. So that seems to be the strategy here. But it is tough to hear when it's like, man, the company that made the best-selling game last year is like, we can't do that anymore. Yeah, that's where we're at with how big and expensive these games are getting and risky.
I do want to also add that I think it's important to note that although the live service aspects of Suicide Squad were incredibly bad, that game is also incredibly bad without them. So,
now, I think it's okay. I had an okay time with it. The shooting's all right.
It's maybe the worst tutorial experience I've ever had in my entire life. I've played a lot of games.
It's not a good game. It's not a good game.
It kills me because there was so much talent at that studio, and people clearly spent seriously years and years and years working on that project and spent a lot of time. And there's good stuff in there, like visually, aesthetically speaking. But I think it's not just Warner Brothers wanting to do live service that tanked that game. There's a lot wrong with it.
Yeah, I think it's not knowing what it is clearly the biggest issue. But I think that kind of comes back to we do have to serve all these masters, including the live service master here. Wonder Woman coming up in this. I mean, I think I was under the assumption that Wonder Woman would be a AAA game like any other. I cannot imagine a live service free to play Wonder Woman game working. I don't know if that's what they're saying or not.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Are you just like going around town throwing the lasso of truth?
No, we can't take like, executive C-level deck presenting as like strategy.
Morgan Stanley speaking event. Yes.
So that's number one. Number two, is there also this like assumption that because it's Warner Brothers, they like automatically own the IP? Isn't there still like a transactional thing that has to happen?
Listen, I know what you mean, because I remember I wrote a story once about, hey, this company bought this other company, and so now they'll be able to get its services for free. And then they're like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like,
right,
what the fuck?
like Twitch, Amazon, right? Like that. It's kind of almost like that in a way where it's like, no.
He does. I think they own the IP, and that was it means they're not paying like Disney licensing fees, clearly, right?
Sure.
So, but I think it's stacked up in such a way that, for the most part, no, they are using the IP they own. So it would be like Disney making a Mickey Mouse thing.
Because it is not a 1-to-1 with like EA being like, oh, IPs are scary and expensive. Like, no, we don't want to do that. And then Warner being like, oh, well, it's just they're right next door. We just open the door and there's a Batman, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that they, for the most part, would consider that owned IP and therefore saving a significant amount of money.
I do want to answer Jan's question of what a Wonder Woman game looks like.
Sure.
I think it looks like Prince of Persia. That's the Wonder Woman game I would want to play.
I hope so.
Or like
That's a good
that
idea, though,
Captain
Russ.
America game that came out like 10 years ago. That
It's
was
made
pretty good.
it's made by the Mordor team, right? So
Oh wow.
or at
That's
least people that
ambitious.
I think that's right. Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, something
Will it
along those
have
lines.
what is it? The thing they copyrighted, the like
I think it
rival
does have the
system.
Nemesis system. Yes,
Nemesis.
I think that is a part of that game.
A lot of people hate Wonder Woman.
The other thing they mentioned here is like, so they had the most popular best-selling game last year with Harry Potter, and they're like, and the next Harry Potter game is going to be a live service game where you live, work, build, and then maybe play in a game with other people in a social online world. And I don't know how much space there is left in the world for that kind of game.
No.
I don't know, man. I was thinking about it in playing Enshrouded, and I was like, why has a AAA studio not totally crushed this? And I think that's what that is like, or you look at the Pal World numbers, like that's what we're talking about, but with an actual IP that people clearly want to shell out money for, I think it would do pretty fucking well.
I think there's definitely a potential there for sure. I mean, people do like these kinds of games. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, they are going to be competing with, like, there's going to be more Pal Worlds, not
Oh
fewer.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's not a guaranteed success, but it surprises me that more big studios haven't attempted to tackle the survival model.
Yes, that's a good point. We will get more of those before we get fewer of them. EA Sports College. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, Grub.
Yeah, please.
I just need to get this evil out of my head. Helldivers 2, but Harry Potter. All right, moving on to the next story.
Yeah, it could work.
I mean, it's called Magico. They made it already.
Let's play it. EA Sports College Football 25 signs 10,000 athletes, but not the most famous QB. Arch Manning, a quarterback for the Texas Longhorns and a member of the Manning football dynasty, reportedly declined to sign a name, image, and likeness agreement with EA Sports College Football 25. They were offering $600 per player. Arch Manning's going to get a lot more money than that. I think he already has several deals worth millions of dollars.
So wait, why couldn't they
played a
offer
game.
Arch like a separate thing?
They might still do that, but you start doing that for one, and then you got the next quarterback's like, well, I'm almost as famous as Arch Manning, so I'm
Sure.
going to not sign. I think that their strategy here is to see how many they can get at 600, because that is already $6 million, right? 10,000 at $600.
Yep.
That's already $6 million. And so that's already, like, you're in the hole to start with this game. I think they're trying to keep costs down as much as possible. So what they'll do is, hey, Texas QB 12. And it'll be like back in the old days.
Right.
And then you'll go online and someone will make them, and you'll be able to download that roster, and that's how that'll work. Yeah, so getting 10,000 athletes, though, that's pretty impressive that they were actually able to make that happen. I think it answered the question. I'm like, is $600 going to be enough? I bet it still wasn't enough, but I bet you ask a kid, do you want to be in a video game? They're probably going to say yes.
I wonder
right?
how they facilitated this. Like, did they?
There's like, there's like I think there's some intermediary company that said they would handle this for them or something like that.
Yeah, that's
I think
what it's
that's
like
how
how you
it
do
was
like
this
a-
was a big logistical nightmare for them to start out with.
It's like a class action lawsuit in reverse.
In reverse,
Getting a bunch of people
I
to
like
sign
that.
a sheet
That's great.
to get a paltry amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. If you service this, like, you're going to get like 5%, and that's going to add up pretty quickly for a small company. So yeah, hey, that's interesting. There's 11,000 basically athletes. So that means there's about 1,000 kids that have not signed this, and that's their right. And I think many of them probably will be the most famous ones that can get bigger NIL deals.
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion 2 HD and Paper Mario Remake news could be coming this week. there's anticipation for updates on these games because this Sunday is March 10th, which, as we all know, is Mario Day. And reliable leaker Payoro has hinted at the possibility of updates for both games this week. Nintendo would probably do it during the week before the weekend. But yeah, those are 2 Mario-related games. We'll probably get updates on that. I'm looking forward to these. I'm ready to play 1,000 Year Door again.
Are they going to come out before or after the Zelda remakes?
Yeah, man, probably before, but man, I don't know what they're doing over at Nintendo if those Zelda remakes.
I know what they're doing.
Don't get through this year and don't come out.
I know what they're doing, and it's actually pretty smart because if the Switch is indeed delayed to whenever 2025, they now have games they can put out.
Yeah,
So,
that's definitely what they have several games like that. There's a Fire Emblem remake that has been sitting finished for more than a year. It seems like closer to 18 months at this point. For a very long time, it's just been straight up finished. Wow. And they will drop it on a rainy day. It seems like now the rainy day is here with the delay of Switch 2. Yeah, I really hope Metroid Prime 4 comes out.
For your sake, yes.
For my sake.
I want that for you, Grub.
Yeah. I got Balatro for $1 in Fantasy Critic. If I get Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, man, we'll have to unpack that a little later, but I've been finding a couple upsetting little limitations in our little Fantasy Critic thing. But we don't have to...
Sean's commissioner, you yell at him.
Yeah, I gotta... Not my commissioner. He's not my commissioner.
Wow. Sean, take it anyway. Give it to me.
And then another not possible event, another confirmed event this week will be an Xbox partner preview event that is happening tomorrow, March 6th, with companies like Capcom, Nexon, and EA. It'll feature games like Tales of Kenzera Zao, which is a very interesting looking game, Kinetsugami Path of the Goddess, which is that Capcom action game that looks very cool as well. The first Berserker Kazan, I'm not sure what that is, but there's a lot of games that should be in here, though. It's going to be 30 minutes, begins at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking forward. Maybe this is where we finally get some Spoon Heaven. I'm sorry, a Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Spoon.
No.
No, listen, the last time we saw it was at an Xbox event.
Yeah, that's true.
No, not here, though, Grub.
Yeah, it's too big for here, huh?
Yeah.
It's too big for a little partner
like they would
showcase.
announce it when like Microsoft is ready to semi-ready to drop like their handheld.
I think if because like when it was at that Xbox event, it was part of that every game here comes out in the next 12 months, and that was a lie for about half of the games in that show, including Silksong. But at one point, they expected that game to be out last year, so that would have been the middle of last year, and we have not heard about it since then. So I think that hey, if we get to this summer and there's a big showcase that they can be in, I think maybe they can end up there and launch it later this year. If it comes out this year, it could still take forever. The thing with these indie games that have a huge sort of anticipation for them is I think every developer gets to a point where they're like, we got to make this perfect. And they take all the time they need, especially since their early games keep selling and can fund this because they have relatively small studios. So that could easily happen. Beyond that, I don't know what else to expect from this show. I'm ready to see more Path of the Goddess, though. That seems interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that does it for the news. Jan, I'm handing the show back over to you.
I'm going to take it and I'm going to say we need to close our eyes for a hot second and then we'll open our eyes to some fresh emails. Close your eyes now, folks. Oh, wow. My eyes are opened and I see in front of me freshly printed out emails from you, the folks at home. Emails.
I used to print out the emails. I did.
I remember one of the Beast casts that Vinny had in the SF studio and the East Coasties were visiting. And then I was like, holy shit, you print out a lot of paper each podcast, Vinny.
Like we killed a lot of trees with that podcast.
We could consolidate some space, big dog.
Double spaced.
Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address to send your emails to. The first email comes from Jacob from Kansas. Jacob writes in and says, "Hello, Bombardiers. I've recently been playing through Bioshock for the first time ever in 29 and was pleasantly shocked and surprised at the 'would you kindly' reveal. I was glad to have somehow avoided anything story related to this game after all these years, so I ask, has there been a game that shocked you with a twist that you somehow managed to not spoil years after it came out? Thanks for all that you do. You each get 5 podcast points." The fuck? Jacob from Kansas sent from my iPhone.
I just learned who Sephiroth's mommy is on Friday, so that was fun.
Same.
I didn't know that.
That's wild to me because, well, I screwed up a little bit before playing Rebirth and like did more research than I probably should have regarding the first game because I wanted to be like up on it. But I guess it didn't occur to me that that was like a spoiler
Yeah.
necessarily.
It's not really that much of a spoiler. And now, to be fair, I also don't know when everyone's asking me, Jeff, do you know the twist later in this game? And I
don't know
no idea what
we
people are
wouldn't say
referring
it
to.
here if we did. So
Yes, I have no idea what they're referring to. So
This is a tough email to answer without spoiling something else. Right? I mean,
I guess
although
you could say the game and people who know will know.
yeah, there you go.
yeah, I think it's funny they brought up BioShock because I do think that kind of exists in a weird vacuum of games that like has not really been spoiled for people. Like that's a fairly substantial thing.
I think it's hard for that to be spoiled because there's no one sentence.
Right,
"Oh,
you have to
this
like
person
exactly
died or whatever.
Exactly, you have to really explain it.
Yeah.
Right. Like even now we're not.
It's like how would you how would you spoil the Prestige? Like that's
Sure.
a tough thing to summarize.
Sure.
You could, but
Trying to think of another game that had a twist like that.
So, related, I loved Bioshock 1 and 2, never got around to Infinite. And
It's okay.
that's the common reaction I hear, but I don't know what happens in Infinite.
I think that's okay. I think
yeah.
it's okay to not know. I mean,
right.
I don't think there's like spoilers for that because
There
you
are.
yeah, I mean, like
There's like a pretty major.
it's frustrating
Far,
spoilers.
not far. I'm not going to spoil it here, but not far off from what happens in Bioshock 1 regarding like who certain people are and why they're important and blah 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 blah. Like relatively easy to spoil if you wanted to know.
It's been very fun to listen to a more civilized age Austin Star Wars podcast because when the writer's strike happened, they're like, well, we're not going to talk about TVs and movies, so what do you want us to talk about? And the community voted for Knights of the Old Republic, and 2 of the members of the podcast had not played it before, so they tried to play it without doing the big spoiler, and it was always hilarious because they're like, all right, I'm going to look up something on Wikipedia, which is a fandom property, by the way, everybody. Check that out. And also be like, no, don't, because every Wikipedia article about Knights of the Old Republic opens with that spoiler for some reason. It could be the most minor character in the world. It could be talking about one of the cards from the card game, and yet for some reason they'll still tell you the big spoiler from that game. So just don't look up anything. It was funny to hear Rob Zachney try to dodge that. And then also to hear Rob Zachney be like, I have a theory, and then him like say it out loud, and that be exactly what was happening.
I don't know the twist.
Yeah, I don't know it either.
That's good. I've never played the game, but I do know the twist. So
Okay.
It's a good game. You guys should, if you guys want to play that would
someone should remake that game.
someone should.
That'd be really neat.
Yeah.
I need an
What a
easy
good
way to play
idea.
that. Grub, do you know anything?
I know that Sony wants nothing to do with it. I can tell you that much, even though they announced it.
Okay, next email comes from Matt from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Hey guys, what's the largest list you can complete to 100%? For example, every major sports team and city, every world capital, every country, every Vampire Survivor's weapon, and combo item? Just curious. I think mine might be every word to Triumph by the Wu-Tang Clan. It's a useful skill that I know one day will prove itself.
Hell yeah, you'll be in some weird trivial situation and that'll come in super handy and you'll be set.
So this was before really mobile phones were a thing. But I remember being in a very boring meeting early in my career, and I took the opportunity to see if I could remember all 151 Pokemon in order. and I was able to do it at the time. I can't do it
Oh
anymore.
my God, Russ!
But
I
that
didn't know
was
this about
probably
you.
the biggest list for me.
This changes stuff.
I could name
man.
every country in Europe back when Yugoslavia was a country, but
What?
now, not anymore.
I
Definitely
couldn't
not
do
anymore.
every country in the world. No
Not
way.
in the world, and that's like 30 countries back then, so no, it
Grub,
wasn't that
do you think
impressive.
you could name every individual item at a Subway?
That's good-
These
that's a good
days,
question.
no, because they changed up the menu to have like that whole like wild like, oh, here's a one called the End Zone or whatever, instead of just a fucking ham sandwich. Maybe at Jimmy John's. I worked there more recently.
Okay.
Grub, do you think you could do like the 4 professional sports?
I think if you give me enough time, I have a really bad memory.
Yeah.
But I think if you gave me time and let me sit there and like rack my brain, I probably could do all 4 professional sports. Like I NBA, because I like,
Yeah, the
I'm like,
NBA
oh
I
man,
couldn't
New
do.
Orleans, fucking Pelicans. are
There's a
team?
team in Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma Thunder. So if I could start there and get those out of the way, maybe I could do it.
Do you think
Man, it's
Dan
hard.
could list every member of the NWO?
That's
No.
too much of like a dubious thing. I feel like there's too much controversy, right? Like that's when I watched wrestling, and I feel like there would be alliances for like half an episode,
Yeah.
you know, of Raw, and you'd be like, wait, or Nitro, whatever, and you'd be like, wait a minute,
That guy's in the NWO?
he's in it? He just did the sign. Does that mean he's in it? Like, what's
Yeah,
happening?
Rip to Virgil, but that was my memory of Virgil. It's like, Virgil's here?
Yeah.
In the NWO? Yeah, all right.
Okay. Okay. Oh God, this one has a weird second part of the email. Maybe we'll skip
Okay.
that one. Hey gang, where are your hands when they're not on your phone whilst driving? I'm 7:30, 3 o'clock kind of dude. It's a good combination of relaxed and prepared. Anywho, ever thought about Tifa having her feet in your mouth? Sorry.
Oh.
Keep me anonymous for this one, Jan. I'm not brave enough to admit this.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, that's a
let's
good
keep
idea.
it
And that was
anonymous.
Quentin Tarantino, everyone.
Big fan of the pod. Thanks, Quint.
QT. I'm a big left elbow resting on the window
Sure.
guy with almost like with like 3
6 o'clock?
digits, 3 digits holding on on 9. I'm holding on 9, and then I switch from like 1 to 6 a lot,
Sure.
like with my
Oh.
right hand. Yeah.
That's pretty similar to what I do. I think.
I'm a left hand 6 o'clock, right hand on the Prindle.
The
I guess-
Prindle?
Yeah, the
Oh, do you
Prindle.
drive a manual?
No, I don't.
But I do the same thing. I rest my hand on the automatic
gear
gear
shift?
shift. Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh, I
Um,
remember gear shifts. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Sometimes, for whatever reason, I'll be right hand on 11 o'clock, though.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh, Prindle. Wow.
Oh, Prindle's
Park, reverse,
awesome.
neutral,
Wow, you
drive,
guys
low
do-
gear.
It's because I'm a child, guys.
Okay.
I knew that. I knew
Cool.
that.
I didn't
I didn't know
put 2 and 2
that.
together.
What's I?
I don't think there is an I.
I know they're just
No.
adding a vowel to make
Oh,
it.
it's P.
pronounce-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's neat. Good for you, Jan.
That's what I'm here for.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I'll,
probably
uh,
10 and 2, pretty standard 10 and 2.
Well, yeah.
10 and 2. What are you, a cop?
Now, do you
Sometimes
like,
I'll let go and do like an arm rest on the right side, but I like having control over the situation.
Yeah.
Russ, are you wrapping your thumbs around the wheel, or are they kind of like straight out?
Oh, wrapped, I guess.
Okay.
Wrapped.
Okay.
I feel like I have more like immediate control with one hand at 6 because I could quickly
Yeah.
Ooh, hit my mic again.
Exactly.
I can quickly
Exactly.
jut it to one side or the other. Whereas 10 and 2 is like if I'm just trying to keep going straight, like
When was the last
that's
time you had to
reliable.
like rip the wheel?
Oh, I've got an active imagination.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing Marvel Snap, like you have to be able
Yeah, you gotta
and
things
also,
pop up on you.
Grubs, your answers are like left knee, right knee, right? Like
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm busy playing Game Boy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Learning a lot. Nothing about Tifa though. No worries, guys.
No, yeah, let's skip that part.
Becco, you got one a newer car. Do you have like the smart like cruise control that can like steer on the highway for you?
I do, yeah. HDA
Is
2.
it how comfortable are you with that? Because I don't know how.
I'll only really use it if I am just really exhausted and only temporarily. I don't
Right.
I don't I like it. It works. It works surprisingly well. I'll do it at night when I'm like alone on the road sometimes too. But it works really well. It'll also, it'll get upset if you don't have a hand on the wheel. It'll be like, "What are you doing? I'm just a robot." Yeah. Like, I don't trust me with everything. Look, like, I don't know. Here's a situation that happened to me. I spilled something in that situation, and I put on HDA, and I was able to do a thing real quick. And I felt okay about it. There wasn't a lot of cars on the road, and it's very good. It is surprisingly accurate, and it slows down, it speeds up. You can have it change lanes if you want. It does really, really good, whatever auto driving. But yeah, I don't prefer it though. I like being in control for sure.
Sure.
I feel like that'd make you more sleepy, or it'd enable you to get sleepier.
I'll do it when I'm if I come home from hockey real late at night and I want to stretch out in a way that I need to be able to not be driving. I'll just do that with one hand on the wheel and sort of really get comfortable in the driver's seat. Look.
I don't know how it is where y'all live, but do you all have the self-driving cabs roaming around the city?
No, not anymore.
I think that's still an SF.
Yeah, that's a
pretty much
SF
exclusive thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some guy just tried to steal one. I think it was in LA. Someone just tried to just swipe one of the self-driving cars.
Good.
Not the best idea because of all the cameras, sensors, and trackers, but
just rip off everything. Every single pedestrian I see, whenever we all collectively see one crossing the street, will always give it a dirty look. And I've seen so many old people flip off the self-driving car.
I love that. I love the idea of a geriatric person being like, "This is how I'll get back at the robot."
Yeah. I mean, that was the reaction to Google Glass. Whenever I saw a Google Glass person, I didn't flip them off, but I kind of wanted to, and I probably
well,
would.
At least they'd see you. At least it's a person.
Yeah, those are cyborgs. That's not.
Yeah.
It's just straight up.
Called them glass holes back then.
Right.
Oh, I like that. The youth of San Francisco have taken to vandalizing the self-driving cars, and I'm all with that.
I can't get mad at that. Get a marker and just write your name on that.
There's a lot of cone throwing happening at the self-driving cars, and they'll freak out.
Good fun, innocent, good fun. Right?
They'll freak out. They would freak out, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Not when anyone's in there.
Sure.
No, just when it's empty, I guess. Okay, two more emails.
Back to the steering wheel. Anyone do the old dad arm behind the headrest of the passenger seat?
Doing it more and more, I'm finding.
Yeah. Why is that? Why after 40 is that position comfortable?
It's it's like my body just remembered I have muscles in my back, and I'm like, I just want to activate those a little bit. There we go.
Just like that,
Now I'm stuck that way. Yeah.
I got to make a left turn before my arm can be freed up again here.
Related, I'll do that when backing up. I'll do the twist, and I'll feel hella cool.
The twist.
I never do the twist.
I don't need to do the twist because the camera and I have my mirrors set up right. But now, you did mention this, Jen. I'm like, I want to see how I feel about the twist, and it felt bad. It felt bad.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I did feel 2 points more attractive doing it, though.
Now, you do look manly when you do it, absolutely. But
Sure.
that masculinity is just going to pass me by. I'm sorry.
That move is iconic car chase backup movie scenery, which is just going to be gone, right? That's it. Everyone's just hold on, I'll let this go.
Knock out the 360 view.
I hear the beeping, so I can't pull over. Oh,
well. Next email comes from Richie, sent from their iPhone. Hi, Bombcasters. I was recently playing a Helldivers 2 quick play mission with two guys who knew each other, but I was randomly matched with. We were mic chatting about mission objectives, and things were going well. Then about 20 minutes in, they start talking to each other about their friend is going to have a threesome with a couple of dudes they know. Then back to casual mic chat, and we get the mission done. Have you ever heard too much while online gaming? Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Richie sent from my iPhone.
I mean, back when I used to allow public voices to, pass through into my ears, which I haven't done in 15 years because I'm not a psychopath. I remember the worst stuff was Rainbow Six Vegas.
Oh.
I have the absolute worst memories. So much so that I forget how this came together, but I remember talking about it, and then while I was at CNET, and then I got interviewed for All Things Considered over it. Like I was talking about how I think like no one realized that like playing games online is fucked up. Like the things you hear, and like someone not from NPR heard it, and and then it turned into like a story. But like that was the worst. I remember back then, you would hear like genuine cries for help. Like you would hear like people like it wasn't always the person on the mic. It was like the shit going on in the background.
Yeah.
You know, you'd hear people like dogs barking, babies crying, like, breaking glass. And you're just like, the fuck kind of situation is happening where you're also simultaneously playing a video game. I don't understand.
I was playing yesterday and I did shout out, has anyone seen the penis rock? And my wife in the background laughed at me. And that was, I think, a little distracting to everyone else on the call. But otherwise, the penis rock is, by the way, what people call one of the resources rocks in Helldivers 2. Once
That's
Got
good
it.
to know.
Yeah.
Chuck Tasky in the chat just linked this story. It's from February 22nd of 2010.
Wow.
Jesus. Oh my God. Oh my
I'm gonna-
God.
I kind of want to use the Goxler to like set up a whole bunch of audio things, like babies crying, like people yelling in the background, the chirp of a smoke detector going off, and just go online to see if I can get anyone to like comment on anything, and then once they say something, have really wild shit that I can make happen in the background.
I do like Winbag's approach of just linking it to a folder and it picking randomly which sound effect. So like,
yeah,
Yeah, I
it could
like
either
that.
just be applause or just booing, and you're
that's
just
a good idea.
keep
Yeah.
mashing on it.
I have heard so many dabs being pulled in my history of gaming. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, really? Just mute it. I don't need to hear it. It sounds like you're making tea, but I know what's going on. And it doesn't bring me joy.
The annoying one is just overhearing someone's music playing, or they're watching a
yeah.
show, and like
Yeah.
the gating
That's
is all
an
over the
instant
place.
mute.
Gaining,
Yeah.
yep.
All right. Final email today is about creeps. Is Kingdom Hearts only for creeps? I just started Rebirth, and the way the characters animate, the way the dialogue is written, even the voices are ripped right from Kingdom Hearts. I'm pretty sure that first shopkeeper they make you talk to is Geppetto. Is Disney really what makes Kingdom Hearts a creep game? Is Disney for creeps? No judgment, just looking for your expertise. Wu-Tai Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Joe in Michigan.
Jan, did you write this?
No, this is from Joe in Michigan. I'm one of the freaks.
Who's Dan Ogoa from Michigan?
I maintain that Final Fantasy Rebirth is the best Kingdom Hearts game.
Oh,
But is
maybe
it for
that's why I don't
creeps?
like it. Yeah.
Just wait till Barrett like becomes the most powerful wizard in all Final Fantasy, and then like Tifa goes yuck.
Maybe that's why they're wasting so much of my time.
Mhm.
The truth comes out.
Gosh, Kingdom Hearts does love wasting time. That's for sure.
The answer is yes.
Yeah,
Kingdom Hearts is for creeps.
We're just beating
Disney,
around the bush.
Yeah, like let's just get straight to it. Is Disney what really makes Kingdom Hearts a creep game? Yes.
That Doug's not wearing any pants. That's a
No.
creep right there.
Yeah. You party with Winnie the Pooh. There's nothing to fight there. You're just there to hang out with Pooh Bear and get some honey.
Get some sweet honey.
Mm.
Yeah. If they do make you do a bunch of random dumb mini games in Kingdom Hearts, just like they'll make you do here in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Just just put on the ears, buy a popcorn bucket, think of Mike Minotti and I, and you'll have fun. It'll be great. It'll be great. That was the emails. Folks, you can send your emails to bombcast@giantbomb.com. I know we're done with the shout outs, but hey, special shouts out to Tyler for beating cancer. Shouts out to you, big dog.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Russ, thank you so much for being on the show. I know it's a long time, and I know you said it at the tippy toppity of the show, but if anyone tuned in or for whatever reason decided to go straight to the emails, where can folks find you on the internet? What's happening? What's popping?
Well, you can head on over to polygon.com. We're very proud of the website that we've created there. I also have a podcast called The Besties, which is not as long as this podcast.
What are you trying to say, dude? What are you trying to
I'm
say?
saying if you want an alternative that's a little bit shorter, there you
No,
go.
a complimentary show.
It is. They pair nicely together. It's like a fine wine and a good stinky cheese, and I won't tell you which one is which.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
With the cheese. We got a bunch of stuff popping off this week. Specifically, Grub, you are going to engage in a race against Dan Reichert, Mike Minotti, and Turbo Sean. You're going to be doing the Mario Kart Grand Prix.
Did we tell Mike?
I sent them a calendar invite. I count that as telling you.
That counts.
That counts.
Yeah. Mario Kart Grand Prix. The name made more sense when we were going to do several Grand Prix. Now we're just going to do all of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But that's 96 tracks, and I looked. That might take about 5 hours or so.
We have a
Oh my
podcast
God.
to do later that day, Grub. Just letting you know.
Listen,
It might be a
in.
two-parter, right?
We'll fit it in. I think it makes more sense to just see it through. I'm looking forward to it.
But also, you know what else we got going on this week, gents? Is a new season of Blight Club.
That's right.
We have Super Dan 64, Dan of Steel, where Dan Reichert will be donning on the blue and red, donning on a cape to fly through a bunch of rings and discover how amazing the game may be, perhaps.
Did he send you any of that stuff that he said he was
Oh,
going to
yeah.
send you? Long or short?
What do you mean?
For the wig.
Oh, long.
So for people that don't know, like, it's also become like this, like, I don't know what the opposite of like good cosplay is, whatever that is. Like, that's what this is.
Cosplay.
All right. And like for me, watching the first episode to see like the big reveal is such a treat. What a magnificent thing this is turned into. I'm very excited to see what Danny Boy is going to be forced to don. So,
Dan sent me some files. Spoilers for folks. Dan has already seen the costume.
Yeah, because we knew what the game was this time, so we figured it'd be fine.
Yeah. Dan sent me over some assets, and the only thing I said back to him was cinema. And you'll have to wait till Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So easy wait, folks. Short wait.
Yep.
Jeff, anything else popping off on the website this week?
We'll fit some other stuff in, but we'll see. Those are the big things.
Those are the big things. And you are the big thing at home, and because you got a big heart. You got a big heart, is what you're doing. Listening to this podcast for such a long time. I love you. I hope you have. I'm gonna not forehead kiss you. I'm gonna put an arm on your shoulder and nod solemnly and say thank you. And we'll be back for another episode of the Giant Bombcast next Tuesday. Until then, I don't know. Go play some Queen's Blood. Don't be mean to Chadley. Chadley's completely fine. Stop bullying Chadley, or keep bullying Chadley. I don't know. All right, let's go. Let's go do some claps.
He can fuck the fuck off.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's Brian Cox there, Russ, telling Dan Reichert to fuck the fuck off.
Love it.
Yes, good stuff.
Send that to me, Grub.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh God, I can't wait for Blight Club tomorrow. All right. Does everyone have time.is up?
Yeah.
I do.
All right. Let's clap and beep respectively at 0, 5, and 10.
Sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. You can
Russ,
get
I'll
this
send you a
going.
directory where to
Great.
drop this.
Wicked. I'm good to stop the recording.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're good.
Sick,
All
gentlemen.
right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here, big dog.
My pleasure. Happy to.
Grub, let's find someone to raid.
Yep, sounds good. I'm looking right now. All right. Let's see here.
Oh my god, this export is taking 3 times as long as my
Oh, yeah.
normal export.
Don't worry, you're getting all the dust out of the CPU.
That's right. That's important. That's
you
important. All right, gents. I gotta roll.
Take
Thanks,
care,
Russ.
Russ.
Take care.
Be
Good
good,
to talk
buddy.
to you, man. Bye.
Adios.
Oh, there's two
All
Grubs
right.
now. What the hell?
Combat.
Oh, yo, I saw Dune 2 over the weekend. Maybe I'll save this for the dump truck. I'm a changed person
In a good way.
in a good way. I'm a
I
Dune.
need
I'm a
to-
Dune 2
I need to
freak
go
now.
see it.
I
I wasn't super wowed by the first one. To
Mm.
be honest, I thought I was like, all right, cool. I like Denis and all his most of his movies, but
Yeah.
Dune 2, oh man.
Yeah, like I'm completely open to enjoying Dune stuff. I just don't think I have the bandwidth at the moment.
It's a long ass movie though.
And just like and I won't be able to just like watch the movies. I'll need to like read stuff.
No, I don't think so.
Just watch Dunes. Watch
Yeah,
both
just
Dunes.
watch Dunes. Yeah.
Yeah, just watch
Maybe I'll
Dunes.
just watch
If you have
Dunes.
questions, ask a freak. They're all around.
Oh,
I'm now a
I know
freak.
plenty.
I
Oh
love
my
the
God.
spice.
We're rating Remap because they're playing SnowRunner.
Okay.
Go on there. I'm hitting the
Mud
button.
buddies.
Bye, everybody.